Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Fantasy. My background is hundreds of millions of points strong. Chapter 21. Uncle Chen. Boy, I am soul formation stage. Seeing that Lu Juyuan and his group were indifferent, and even looked at them with expressions that looked a bit like looking at monkeys, Uncle Chen immediately became angry. He was about to kill them immediately, but he didn't expect that the young man standing aside at this moment took action and stopped Uncle Chen. Master. Uncle Chen was a little confused, but the young man shook his head and said calmly, Uncle Chen, just leave this matter to me. After saying that, the young man walked up to Li Qingping, with a smile on his face and said confidently, Miss, it was my bodyguard who offended you earlier. Please introduce yourself first. I am Yuan Tianyi. After Yuan Tianyi said this, he stopped speaking. In his opinion, it was enough to just say these words. Oh, what then? Li Qingping frowned when she heard this and said without hiding her disgust in her tone. This made the extremely confident Yuan Tianyi feel a trace of doubt and repeated it again. I, Yuan Tianyi, and my father, Yuan Changqing. After saying that, he raised his head proudly. If he wasn't a fool, he would have heard of Yuan Changqing's name. He was a master at the peak of void refining. What he didn't expect was that Li Qingping still said calmly. Oh, and you, what do you want to express? If Li Qingping was just a little disgusted before, then this time she was a little angry. After hearing Li Qingping's words, Yuan Tianyi felt offended. How could anyone not know Yuan Changqing's great name? He was a powerful person in the void refining stage. My father is a powerful person in the void refining stage, so I wonder if I can get to know you, miss. Yuan Tianyi took a deep breath and kept emphasizing in his heart that he was a refined and easygoing person and could not get angry casually. However, he did not expect that after hearing his words, Lu Juyuan would sneer before Li Qingping could speak. I thought you were the one in the void refining stage. Did you turn out to be just a bully? Turning to look at Lu Juyuan, Yuan Tianyi couldn't help but get angry. She is a beautiful young lady and she can talk to me, but what kind of FW are you? Thinking of this, Yuan Tianyi said angrily, Boy, it looks like you can pull me off, so I'll tell you something today, that is, don't be too arrogant. After Yuan Tianyi said that, he punched Lu Juyuan with all his strength. He wanted to tell Lu Juyuan that there are people outside the world, and there is a sky outside the world. At the same time, it was also to tell Li Qingping how powerful she was. Just why is this kid still standing there stupidly, and why is Li Qingping's face still showing a little amusement, but now that he has taken action, he will naturally go all out. Tisk, 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 what should I say to you? You actually dare to attack me. Lu Juyuan shook his head helplessly. He just wanted to keep a low profile. He didn't expect that trouble would come to his door. Plus, Lu Juyuan was not a weakling, so he might as well take action. Naturally, many people noticed the movement here. Senior Sister Chang, look quickly, something seems to be happening there. Not far from Lu Juyuan and his group, two women in white were sitting cross-legged on a stone, but their personalities looked completely different. One is lively and cheerful, the other is taciturn. After hearing what Junior Sister said, Senior Sister Chang withdrew from her meditation state, her face full of helplessness. Junior Sister, don't pay too much attention to this kind of thing. How many powerful geniuses can appear in such a remote place? After hearing what the senior sister said, the younger girl stuck out her tongue playfully and said, Senior Sister, it's boring after all. Besides, it will probably take another day to enter the Qingfeng secret realm. Let's take a look. Facing the junior sister's coquettishness, Senior Sister Cheng shook her head helplessly. What else could she do but pamper her, and then she looked at Lu Juyuan's side. There were also other powerful people who noticed this scene, including the forces of Pansi town. Tisk, 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 I didn't expect that someone would provoke Yuan Changqing's son. Now someone is going to suffer. That's not necessarily the case. We don't know that young man, so his background may be more terrifying than Yuan Tianyi's. You're just kidding. How can you pull out a random person and have a background comparable to that of the void refining stage? Although they sympathized with Lu Juyuan and others, they would not take action. What they wanted to do was to ignore matters that had nothing to do with them. But just when Yuan Tianyi was about to punch Lu Juyuan finally made his own counterattack. Snapped. Lu Juyuan slapped Yuan Tianyi on the face with lightning speed, sending Yuan Tianyi flying away. Most of the people present had not yet reacted to this sudden change. But after reacting, Yuan Tianyi's anger also followed. How dare you slap me? Uncle Chen, let me kill them all. Let me keep that woman. I will train her into a cauldron. Originally, Yuan Tianyi planned to maintain his demeanor, but now he has been slapped. Go to hell with his demeanor. Yes, master. Uncle Chen couldn't help but become angry after seeing this scene. If Yuan Chengqing knew about this, I'm afraid he would also be punished. Thinking of this, Uncle Chen chose Thunderbolt to kill Lu Juyuan and others. In this way, he could save some face and calm the young master's anger. The surrounding powerful people couldn't help but be shocked after seeing this scene, but they were followed by pity. After all, being targeted by a void refining stage monk was not a good thing. Wow, this little brother is so powerful. Senior sister, how about we win him over to join our Northern Snow sect later? When the younger girl saw that Lu Juyuan actually had such a handsome side, she hugged senior sister Cheng's hand and said coquettishly, while senior sister Cheng just shook her head and said, Junior sister, although I also appreciate his strength, our Northern Snow sect only accepts women. If you want men, forget it. Hearing this, the woman thought about it, and then she said angrily, can't we set a precedent? Set a precedent, let's forget it. After all, he may not survive today. Senior sister Cheng looked to the side in the direction of Lu Juyuan, with a little pity in her eyes. In the immortal cultivation world, it is not enough to be able to fight. The most important thing for cultivating immortals is to have a background and a backer. If you only know how to fight, you will be beaten to death sooner or later. And this is why some geniuses join big forces, firstly for a comfortable cultivation environment, and secondly so that they will not be oppressed by people from other forces when they go out. But it was obvious that they didn't know that Lu Juyuan's background was far more terrifying than they imagined. At the same time, Uncle Chen arrived in front of Lu Juyuan in just the blink of an eye. After all, it was Lu Juyuan who made the move, so the first one to be killed was naturally Lu Juyuan. What Uncle Chen didn't expect was that this time he actually lifted the steel plate. Facing the menacing Uncle Chen, Lu Juyuan did not panic at all, or it could be said that Lu Juyuan had enough confidence, but all this was frightened in Uncle Chen's eyes. Can the soul formation stage react during the chi refining period? That's nonsense. Boy, in the next life you will see clearly who can be provoked and who cannot be provoked. Uncle Chen sneered, and then waved his palm to kill Lu Juyuan, but at this moment, a black shadow appeared in front of Uncle Chen in just the blink of an eye. What? Uncle Chen said in disbelief, but before he could react, he was directly lifted up by the opponent's hand. The extremely terrifying soul formation stage strength on his body was actually directly imprisoned by the opponent. Don't mess with me in the next life, Qiongui, kill him. Lu Juyuan walked up to Uncle Chen, sneered and said, Uncle Chen had already taken action against him, so naturally he would not keep him. No, spare my life. Uncle Chen begged for mercy with a horrified look on his face. At this time, he also realized that Lu Juyuan's background was definitely terrifying, and it was definitely not something he could touch. But the King of Thousand Ghosts is not a kind-hearted person. With just a few moves, he directly killed Uncle Chen on the soul formation stage, and even Nascent Soul had no chance to break free. Nascent Soul has the effect of a second life, but that is only when the strength is equal. If the strength is not equal, you can't escape. And as Uncle Chen was killed, Yuan Tianyi, who was lying on the ground in the distance, was completely stunned. It was obvious that he did not expect that the person he randomly provoked could be such a terrifying existence. Thinking of this, Yuan Tianyi quickly begged for mercy. Brother, spare my life, I am willing to become your little brother. From now on, if you ask me to go east, I will never go west, and I am a low-grade talent. The people around me were all shocked. It was obvious that their situation was not much different from that of Yuan Tianyi, and they did not expect to encounter such a thing. The two Northern Snow sect disciples became even more excited. Sister, look, he is so handsome. The junior sister said excitedly, her eyes full of admiration. She is young, handsome, and has a strong background. This completely meets her criteria for choosing a mate. Senior sister Cheng's face could not help but become serious at this time, and she obviously did not expect that Lu Juyuan's background was so terrifying. I didn't expect that there could be such a powerful person in such a small place. He could make a monk in the void refining stage become a protector. This shows that the forces behind him definitely exist in the fusion stage. This kind of force is only smaller than our Northern Snow sect is a little bit behind. The strength of the Northern Snow sect is similar to that of the Yuan kingdom, and there are strong people in the Transcending tribulation stage. However, this time Cheng Shui brought his junior sister Lin Yuan out to practice, but he did not expect to encounter such a thing. At this time, Cheng Shui had already had the idea of becoming a good friend with Lu Juyuan. On the other side, Lu Juyuan just came to Yuan Tianyi with a smile on his face. This smile once made Yuan Tianyi think that Lu Juyuan would not kill him. But he didn't expect Lu Juyuan to lean into his ear and whisper softly, "Don't mess with me in the next life." Hearing this, Yuan Tianyi's pupils shrank, and when he wanted to say something, his vision went dark, and Yuan Tianyi's head was cut off by Lu Juyuan's sword. He had killed Chen Feng before, so he didn't have any feelings about killing Yuan Tianyi and Lu Juyuan this time. But at this moment, Lu Juyuan received a message from the Thousand Ghost King's spiritual consciousness. "Young master, there are 2 girls from the Northern Snow sect over there." Following Thousand Ghost King's reminder, Lu Juyuan glanced casually and saw Cheng Shui and Lin Yuan in the distance, and then he became curious. Is this Northern Snow sect very powerful? It's very powerful, similar to the strength of the Yumaman. Having said this, Thousand Ghost King's expression became solemn. Beishui Taoist's cultivation level was similar to that of Li Xuanren and Wandering Demon King, both at the peak of Transcending tribulation. Don't pay too much attention to this matter. The Northern Snow sect is not our enemy anyway. After saying this, Lu Juyuan shook his head and took the storage rings from Yuan Tianyi and Uncle Chen. Every powerful man who makes a fortune cannot avoid saving. Although there are not many resources in Yuan Tianyi and Uncle Chen's storage ring, mosquito legs are also meat. After getting rid of all the troubles, Lu Juyuan walked up to Li Qingping and smiled. "How about it? Did I go too far before?" Li Qingping just shook her head. "I don't think, after all, they were the ones who started the attack, and they want to do something to me, so there will definitely be a price to pay." At this point, Li Qingping snorted coldly. It was obvious that she didn't like the Yuan family very much. "Oh, what are you going to do?" Lu Juyuan originally thought of taking care of the Yuan family by himself, but judging from the current situation, it seems that Li Qingping is going to do it herself. At this moment, a figure arrived belatedly. It was Uncle Lu, the guest who was secretly protecting Li Qingping. Seeing Uncle Lu arriving, Li Qingping snorted coldly. "Uncle Lu, can you help me with something?" "Of course I dare not refuse what the young lady said." Uncle Lu shook his head and said calmly, "Help me destroy the Yuan family in Pansi town. No one will be left alive. I want the Yuan family's chickens and dogs to be spared. Even the eggs will be shaken away by me, and the earthworms will be split in half from the middle." Li Qingping exuded a domineering aura, and Uncle Lu couldn't help but admire her. She was indeed Li Xuanren's daughter, but she was very domineering. "Yes, miss." After Uncle Lu said that, he set off towards the location of Pansi town in order to pass. After sending Uncle Lu away, Li Qingping looked at Lu Juyuan aside and said shyly, "Am I going a little too far like this?" Hearing this, Lu Juyuan smiled bitterly and said, "No, after all, it is the son's fault that he does not teach his father. I think it is normal for the whole family to pay for the fault of one person." After hearing Lu Juyuan's words, Li Qingping breathed a sigh of relief. She was originally worried that Lu Juyuan would be disgusted with her because of his domineering attitude. It would be better if he didn't. At the same time, the forces present couldn't help but get excited after seeing Uncle Lu going to Pansi town. After all, they could also feel the terrifying aura of Uncle Lu, and this meant that destroying the Yuan family was not a solution. It's impossible. Thinking of this, many people have spread the news towards their own power, and the Yuan family will be destroyed. At this time, Yuan Chengqing's face darkened. Just now, he felt that his blood connection had disappeared, which meant that Yuan Tianyi was dead. Thinking of this, Yuan Chengqing said angrily, "Who dares to kill Tianyi?" But he didn't expect that Uncle Lu was rushing towards Pansi town at this time, and his death was coming soon. Senior sister, why don't we go get to know that handsome guy? Lin Yuan said with some excitement that Lu Juyuan was handsome, powerful, and had a strong background. He just fell in love with her. This, okay. Cheng Shui hesitated for a moment, then agreed with a wry smile. But at this moment, someone shouted, "The secret realm is open, everyone rush." After hearing this, Lu Juyuan and Li Qingping looked towards the entrance of the secret realm, and saw that the light curtain in front of the entrance of the secret realm had disappeared, which meant that the secret realm had been opened. Master Lu, let's go. The secret realm will only be open for 7 days. Hold my hand when you enter, otherwise the secret realm will separate us. Li Qingping said quickly, and after that, she took Lu Juyuan's hand and rushed toward the secret realm. Lu Juyuan didn't even react when he was holding his hand. After he did, he smiled bitterly. This seems to be my first time holding hands with someone of the opposite gender in a different world. Seeing this scene, Lin Yuan didn't know why he felt like his heart was broken. Seeing this, Cheng Shui just smiled and said immediately, "Let's go, the secret realm is opened. If you are slow, you won't get the chance." Lin Yuan said absent-mindedly, and then followed Cheng Shui into the secret realm. Outside the secret realm, there were tens of thousands of monks in the qi refining stage rushing in. Although the Qingfeng secret realm has declined, it is still a good place for most monks in the qi refining stage to undergo trials. "I'm so dizzy." When he felt his feet standing on the thick ground, Lu Juyuan said with an ugly expression. Obviously, he hated the dizziness when he was teleported. On the other hand, Li Qingping on the other side was much better. "Juyuan, are you okay?" Li Qingping asked worriedly, while Lu Juyuan smiled and shook his head. "I'm fine." After saying that, he looked around and followed Lu Juyuan's gaze. He saw that the surrounding area was a dense forest, and there was a rustling sound coming from the forest. The situation doesn't seem good. Lu Juyuan frowned slightly when he saw this. As he finished speaking, a black shadow flashed out from the grass on one side. Before Li Qingping even came over, the black shadow was killed by Lu Juyuan with a sword. With a snap, Li Qingping finally saw clearly what the black shadow was. It's the blood spirit rat. Well, judging from this guy's condition, he has already reached the peak of qi refining. Lu Juyuan said calmly, and then looked to the other side, only to see more black shadows coming towards them there. The most terrifying thing is that blood spirit rats are gregarious beasts. If you find one, there will be at least 100 blood spirit rats around. As Lu Juyuan finished speaking, dozens of blood spirit rats opened their bloody mouths and attacked the two of them. Li Qingping was about to take action when she saw this, but was stopped by Lu Juyuan. "Just leave this to me." Li Qingping thought the same thing. Lu Juyuan was able to kill the early stage of foundation building. Is it possible that he still couldn't deal with the blood rat swarm? In the midst of his thoughts, Lu Juyuan had already broken into the group of blood spirit rats with the Qingfeng sword in his hand. This Qingfeng sword was the pinnacle Zan level sword that Lu Juyuan asked the immortal ancestor to forge in the name of Qingfeng town. After all, Lu Chengsheng is a monk at the pinnacle of Mahayana, so it is reasonable for him to learn a little bit of forging skills during the long journey. The invincible group of blood spirit rats were not even able to resist under Lu Juyuan's hand. A single blow of the sword would definitely kill one of the blood spirit rats. This scene really surprised Li Qingping, and she said with some surprise on her face. It is rumored that the overall strength of the blood spirit rats is not much different, which means that these blood spirit rats are basically at the peak of qi refining. I didn't expect Juyuan's strength to be so strong. Following Li Qingping's surprise, more than 100 blood spirit rats were quickly killed by Lu Juyuan, and at this time, Lu Juyuan also had a faint murderous aura permeating his body. If enough creatures are killed, the murderous aura in the body may be enough to make the opponent lose the ability to do anything. After killing all the blood spirit rats, Lu Juyuan did not hesitate at all, put the corpses of the blood spirit rats into the storage ring, and said with a serious face. The price of a blood spirit rat is not low. One price is as high as 100 low-grade spirit stones. When converted, it is 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. Li Qingping said that she was used to Lu Juyuan's frugality. After Lu Juyuan collected the corpses of the blood spirit rats, Li Qingping came to Lu Juyuan and was about to say something. Unexpectedly, Lu Juyuan said what she wanted to say directly, out. I know what you want to say. There must be treasures of heaven and earth where the blood rats are. During this period, Lu Juyuan also obtained the Encyclopedia of Emperor Zan Demonic Beasts and the Encyclopedia of Heavenly Materials and Earthly Treasures from Lu Changsheng. He naturally knew the habits of the blood spirit rat, and there was a certain probability that the blood spirit fruit would exist where the blood spirit rat stayed. After swallowing, it can greatly enhance the physical strength of monks below the gold core stage. If that's the case, then go look for it. After all, you should be able to use it. After thinking of Lu Juyuan's thrifty habit, Li Qingping said immediately. Lu Juyuan nodded and walked in one direction, and Li Qingping followed curiously. Are you so sure that the blood spirit fruit is in this direction? Li Qingping asked curiously, but Lu Juyuan looked at her like she was a fool. Are you stupid? The blood spirit rats came from this way. Is it possible that the blood spirit fruit can be in the opposite direction? When Li Qingping thought about it, she seemed to be the same. She felt a little embarrassed and continued to move forward with Lu Juyuan. And soon they came to a cave, and as expected, they found the blood spirit fruit inside. This blood spirit fruit is actually 500 years old. Li Qingping said in disbelief. You must know that the blood spirit fruit is a natural treasure at the peak of the Huang rank. It is only 100 years old at most. After 100 years, it will basically wither. Lu Juyuan on the other side stared at the blood spirit fruit and thought about it, and said in surprise after a moment. This is not the blood spirit fruit, this is the Holy Spirit fruit. Holy Spirit fruit, Li Qingping said in shock, and then looked at the blood spirit fruit and observed it again. After observing for a long time, she discovered that there were 5 faint lines on the blood spirit fruit. If you didn't look carefully, you couldn't see it at all. Yes, there is a high probability that the blood spirit fruit will wither and destroy after growing for 100 years, but there is also a very small probability of transforming into a Holy Spirit fruit. Lu Juyuan said with some excitement, if the blood spirit fruit can only help him a little bit, then the Holy Spirit fruit can give him a lot of help. After all, the Holy Spirit fruit is a genuine treasure of a peak Zan level genius. Rumor has it that it even has the effect of reshaping a person. Although it is a bit exaggerated, it is enough to illustrate the horror of the Holy Spirit fruit. It's just a pity that the Holy Spirit fruit needs to be taken within an hour after being picked, otherwise it will lose its effect, so it can only be taken here. Lu Juyuan thought of something, shook his head and said, Li Qingping did the same. There are 3 here, I think it's not too much to take 2. Lu Juyuan looked at the 3 Holy Spirit fruits hanging among them and spoke first. Naturally, Li Qingping would not have any objections. After all, it was Lu Juyuan who killed the group of blood spirit rats. After reaching an agreement, Lu Juyuan directly picked off 2 Holy Spirit fruits and swallowed them. Immediately, a majestic power spread from Lu Juyuan's mouth throughout his body. Without hesitation, Lu Juyuan directly refined the Holy Spirit fruits with all his strength. Li Qingping also so true. While the 2 of them were refining the Holy Spirit fruit, they were constantly fighting in the secret realm. After all, there were tens of thousands of monks in the Qi refining stage who entered the secret realm. The killing is not just about people killing monsters and monsters killing people, but also people killing people. No one is trustworthy before the huge temptation. Hey, little girl, please hand over the Xuanyang grass in your hands, otherwise don't blame me for not being smart. Soon after entering the secret realm, Cheng Shui and Lin Yuan found several Xuanyang grasses, and then were blocked by several monks at the peak of Qi refining. After all, Xuanyang grass is a natural treasure of middle-grade Zan. It has miraculous effects on monks who practice fire attribute skills. Even if it is not taken out, it can be sold for tens of thousands of low-grade spiritual stones. Facing the 5 people blocking her, Cheng Shui was not too scared, but looked to Lin Yuan aside and said calmly, Junior sister, stay here obediently. After saying that, a cold sword appeared in Cheng Shui's hand, and then rushed towards the 5 people. HMPH, it looks like this girl is very hot. Brothers, don't hurt her face. The leader sneered and ordered, and the 4 peak Qi refining brothers behind him immediately swarmed up and rushed towards Cheng Shui. Seeing this scene, Lin Yuan just shook his head, with a trace of pity in his eyes. Senior sister Cheng only suppressed herself at the peak of qi refining in order to enter the secret realm. Otherwise, she would have already broken through to the foundation establishment stage. Moreover, senior sister Cheng's strength cannot be measured by realm. She once saw that senior sister Cheng was at the peak of qi refining and was in the early stages of foundation building. Therefore, Lin Yuan was not worried that the few people in front of her could hurt senior sister Cheng. Moreover, they still had life-saving items given to them by the sect. What made the peak qi refining monk stunned was that Cheng Shui killed one of his subordinates just by looking at him. What? Are you useless? Give me your best effort. After hearing their master's words, the remaining 3 people could only hold back the fear in their hearts and used magic to attack Cheng Shui, while Cheng Shui ran quickly and used mystical magic to deal with the magic they blasted. The ice sword blocked it. A few seconds later, Cheng Shui's figure flashed past the 3 of them. Before they could react, a faint bloodstain appeared on their necks, and soon as the bloodstains continued to expand, the head was also separated from the body in shock. It was only then that the young man finally couldn't sit still anymore and said with fear on his face, "You can't kill me, my father is a soul formation stage monk." But there is no fear in front of Cheng Shui. The Northern Snow sect is not a small sect, so it is naturally very protective of its children. As long as the disciples do not make mistakes first, the Northern Snow sect will basically be preserved. Soul formation stage monk. Is he very powerful? What can he do before my Northern Snow sect? Cheng Shui said expressionlessly, and then killed the young man with a look of astonishment in his eyes. Before he died, the young man finally knew that he had provoked a terrifying person that he shouldn't have provoked, but it was already too late. It's too late. After killing several people, Lin Yuan walked to Cheng Shui, shook her head and said, "Senior sister Cheng, isn't this a bit too cruel?" Based on her character, this was the first time she had seen murder, so the visual impact was naturally unacceptable, but Cheng Shui just shook her head and said earnestly, "Junior sister, you need to know one thing. In the immortal cultivation world, humans are more terrifying than monsters. If you want to continue to become stronger and climb, sooner or later you will need to be stained with human blood." Although Lin Yuan didn't know these great truths, she knew that Cheng Shui would not harm her, so she nodded obediently. After explaining the truth to his junior sister, the figure of Lu Juyuan flashed across Cheng Shui's mind, and she couldn't help but become curious, what happened to this guy now? At the same time, in the cave, Lu Juyuan and Li Qingping fell into a state of cultivation after taking the Holy Spirit fruit. As the Holy Spirit fruit was continuously refined, their physical strength was constantly improving. As the Holy Spirit fruit was continuously refined, a burst of heat continued to emerge from the 2 people's bodies, and the physical power also continued to surge at this time. And soon, Lu Juyuan completely refined the Holy Spirit fruit. "Now I can exert 1,000,000 kilograms of strength with just my physical body. I am worthy of the Holy Spirit fruit. I am really powerful." Lu Juyuan clenched his fist, and he could feel the changes in his body. After adapting for a while, he stood up and looked at Li Qingping aside. He saw that Li Qingping was still refining the Holy Spirit fruit, and it looked like it was only half refined. But it's normal to think about it. After all, her talent is only at the Huang level, and she is only one step away from getting the immortal level talent. There is naturally a huge gap in the speed of refining. If he can find the glazed liquid, his talent should be able to break through to the immortal level. Although Lu Juyuan didn't show anything after seeing Lu Yushuang that day, he is the young master, and his talent cannot be compared to someone who suddenly joined Lu Yushuang. It is definitely impossible to say that the people at home don't care at all. But one thing made Lu Juyuan feel curious, that is, there is nothing strange in this cave. Why can such a treasure as the Holy Spirit fruit grow? Unless. In order to verify his guess, Lu Juyuan immediately came to the root of the Holy Spirit fruit. Under normal circumstances, the roots of the Holy Spirit fruit would soon wither completely after being pulled out. However, the roots are still full of life, which means that there may be something underneath. Thinking of this, Lu Juyuan immediately prepared to dig out the roots of the Holy Spirit fruit. But at this moment, Lu Juyuan felt something. He turned around and saw that Li Qingping had already absorbed the Holy Spirit fruit. Although not as good as Lu Juyuan, it is extremely good to be able to reach a physical strength of 100,000 kilograms at the peak of qi refining. What's wrong? Seeing Lu Juyuan standing on the rhizome, Li Qingping asked curiously. After hearing Lu Juyuan's thoughts, Li Qingping's expression became solemn. It's useless to talk more. Let's see what's next first. After speaking, Lu Juyuan directly pressed his hand on the rhizome. His expression became solemn at this time, and after a short moment, he only heard Lu Juyuan say softly, "Broken ground." As Lu Juyuan finished speaking, the ground with a 1-meter radius around him began to shake. Then in Li Qingping's eyes, the ground began to collapse, and a second before the collapse, Lu Juyuan jumped out of it with force. The earth began to collapse continuously. Let's go down and take a look. I feel there is a treasure down there, maybe it's the glazed treasure liquid. Lu Juyuan shook his head and said, and Li Qingping looked at Lu Juyuan with a somewhat surprised expression at this time. If she read it correctly, this seems to be a low-grade magic. You must know that if you want to activate the low-grade magic of Zon level, you must at least reach the foundation building stage. As for Lu Juyuan, he has not yet broken through to the foundation building stage. What are you doing? My physique is different between qi refining stages. It makes sense that I can perform low-grade magic. Seeing Li Qingping's surprised expression, Lu Juyuan said seriously, while Li Qingping said that I believe you, but the most important thing right now is to go down and see if the thing below is Luli Baoye. If it is Luli Baoye, then she will can defying the heavens and changing fate. However, when the two of them came to the pit and looked down, they saw only endless darkness. Seeing this, Lu Juyuan jumped down without any hesitation, while Li Qingping sighed and followed. Both of them have extraordinary backgrounds, so it is reasonable for them to have a few life-saving objects on their bodies. Ordinary monks need to break through to the foundation building stage before they can fly with objects, but they both have magic weapons that can fly during the qi refining stage. After falling for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the two finally saw a glimmer of light. Without any hesitation, Lu Juyuan took out a talisman from the storage ring and stuck it on his body. In an instant, Lu Juyuan's own weight dropped infinitely, and as the weight dropped, Lu Juyuan could feel that his falling speed continued to slow down, and finally he landed steadily. When he raised his head, he saw Li Qingping riding on a white cloud, flying down quickly, and then landed next to him. Strange magic weapon. Seeing this, Lu Juyuan shook his head and said, and then looked at the surrounding space, only to see an empty cave around him. There was only a little light in it, but it greatly affected his eyesight. Without hesitation, Lu Juyuan took out a few lighting stones, channeled his power into them, and then the lighting stones erupted with a burst of dazzling light, illuminating the entire cave. Only then did Lu Juyuan and Li Qingping clearly see the situation in the entire cellar. Is that the glazed liquid? Lu Juyuan looked into the depths of the cave and saw that it was a huge pit, and in the pit was a large pool of glazed treasure liquid. What? We actually met him. Seeing the Luli Baoye, Li Qingping couldn't help but get excited. With the Luli Baoye, she could defying the heavens and changing fate. Be careful. After all, the glazed liquid has been here for so long, and I don't know if there are any guardian spirit beasts nearby. Lu Juyuan was not dazzled by joy because of his discovery of the glazed liquid. On the contrary, he was exceptionally calm at this time. After hearing Lu Juyuan's words, Li Qingping reacted and looked around with a wary face, fearing that there were some powerful guardian spirit beasts around. Seeing her vigilant look, Lu Juyuan couldn't help but smile and said, "Don't worry, there won't be gold core monsters in the secret realm, so don't worry, just leave it to me." Li Qingping thought about it. After all, it was so easy to deal with Chen Feng in the early stage of foundation building. It shouldn't be difficult to deal with monsters in the middle stage of foundation building. It should be rare in the later stage of foundation building, right? So under the leadership of Lu Juyuan, Li Qingping followed cautiously towards Luli Baoye, but the road was extremely quiet, so quiet that the only sound of their footsteps could be heard in the entire cave. Finally, after a period of trepidation, they finally came to the Luli Baoye. Upon seeing this, Li Qingping directly stretched her hand into the water, and a strange feeling spread throughout her body from the water. It's really glass treasure liquid. After supporting Li Qingping, she was completely sure that this was Luli Baoye. Lu Juyuan was also a little excited after hearing this. After all, this meant that he could break through to the immortal level talent. But at this moment, a gurgling sound came from the glazed treasure liquid. No, be careful. Lu Juyuan sensed something, grabbed Li Qingping and rushed back. The moment the two left, a huge figure appeared in the previous position. And after that figure appeared, he let out a burst of shouts, "Ouch! This is the dragon," Li Qingping said in shock after seeing this figure, but Lu Juyuan frowned slightly, looked at the figure of the giant dragon and kept thinking, and said in surprise after a moment. No, this dragon has been soaked in the glazed treasure liquid for a long time, and now I'm afraid it's about to turn into a real dragon. After Lu Juyuan spoke, Li Qingping looked at the top of the dragon's head and saw that 2 dragon horns had appeared on the other side's head, which meant that the other side was really about to turn into a real dragon. Humans, get out of here, or die. At this moment, a word came out of Zhaolong's mouth, and he looked at the 2 people with a majestic expression, and he could feel an aura that could not be blasphemed from his body. But unfortunately, he met Lu Juyuan. His eyes were full of enthusiasm, and he couldn't help but lick his tongue at the corner of his mouth. By the way, I haven't eaten real dragon meat yet. The dragon started to doubt his ears. He was a dragon at the peak of foundation building. He was only 1 step away from turning into a real dragon. He was just limited by the secret realm and could not break through to the gold core stage. Otherwise, he would have broken through to the gold core stage long ago. It's due. As for the human being in front of him, he was only at the peak of chi refining. How could he have the confidence to defeat or even kill him? But before he could react, Lu Juyuan moved. With a swish sound, Lu Juyuan disappeared in front of Zhaolong. Not good. Zhaolong felt a warning sign in his heart at this time, and just when he was about to fly away, Lu Juyuan appeared on his head, raised his Qingfeng sword and stabbed him. Although the dragon's defense is strong, it cannot withstand the Qingfeng sword, which has reached the peak of the Zan level. Even the defense of the gold core level can be broken, let alone the dragon. As the Qingfeng sword was pierced into the body, the dragon immediately let out a wailing sound, and the entire dragon entered a violent state. As the dragon began to go crazy, Li Qingping also came to a place where he would not be affected, while Lu Juyuan stood firmly on the dragon's head, holding the Qingfeng sword and slashing at the dragon's head. Humans, get out of here! Zhaolong roared angrily, but his claws were too short and could not touch Lu Juyuan. He could only try to throw Lu Juyuan away by constantly shaking his body. Finally, he succeeded. But it was Lu Juyuan who took the initiative, because he found that it was difficult to operate on the dragon's head, so he came down and easily killed the dragon with a sword. It should be so big that he can eat it for a long time. Human, die! Zhaolong saw Lu Juyuan being thrown away, and then flew towards Lu Juyuan. Lu Juyuan took the Qingfeng sword unhurriedly, and a fierce aura emerged from his body. At this time, the dragon also felt something. The whole dragon stared and stopped. He actually felt the breath of death on a guy who was at the peak of chi refining. What? This is impossible. Zhaolong said in disbelief, and then he regrouped and was about to charge towards Lu Juyuan again. At this time, Lu Juyuan had already finished gathering his strength and suddenly pulled out the Qingfeng sword, followed by a terrifying sword energy. Qingfengzhan, Lu Juyuan said softly, but this sword energy was not as calm as the breeze. Instead, it was like a raging wind with the potential to destroy everything. You can't take this sword forcefully, or you will die. Zhaolong thought without hesitation in his heart, and then said with a panicked expression, "Stop humans." At this time, Qingfengzhan dissipated almost 3 meters away from the dragon. Oh, you want to say something? Lu Juyuan said calmly that he could still send out the Qingfeng slash several times before, so he was not afraid of what other methods Zhaolong could use. I am willing to serve you as my master. I just ask you to spare my life. Zhaolong said seriously, but Lu Juyuan frowned slightly when he heard this. It was not that he was unwilling to accept Zhaolong, but that he didn't know if he could take Zhaolong out. Seemingly considering Lu Juyuan's concerns, Zhaolong said quickly, "Sir, don't worry. As long as you make a spiritual pet contract, I will be regarded as your property. When the secret realm is closed, I will be teleported out." After hearing Zhaolong's words, Lu Juyuan thought for a while. It seemed that having a real dragon's mount was a big deal. Thinking that others were traveling on flying magic weapons, but he was riding a real dragon, he immediately became obsessed with it. Thinking of this, Lu Juyuan stretched out his hand over your true spirit. Hearing this, a trace of struggle flashed across Zhaolong's face, but after thinking that he could not break through to a more powerful realm in the secret realm and transform into a true dragon, Zhaolong reluctantly handed over part of his true spirit. The true spirit is an extremely precious thing for any monk. You only need to master a part of another person's true spirit to control the other person's power of life and death, no matter how powerful the monk is. Human, you should be able to establish a spiritual pet treaty. Zhaolong looked at Lu Juyuan with some suspicion, and Lu Juyuan snorted lightly. It's just a spiritual pet treaty, what's the difficulty? Just keep an eye on it. I saw Lu Juyuan pinch out the magic formula with a confident face, and a burst of extremely mysterious power suddenly appeared on Lu Juyuan's body. At this time, Zhaolong felt something, and his face was a little surprised. This is the contract of heaven. You must know that the spirit pet treaty can originally bind the spirit pet's loyalty to oneself, but if the spirit pet's realm is higher than the two major realms of the owner, the spirit pet treaty will be automatically abolished. But the contract of heaven is different. After establishing the contract of heaven, even monks in the chi refining stage can control spiritual pets with cultivation levels as high as the immortal king stage. Stop it! Zhaolong roared angrily. His original plan was to break through to the gold core stage immediately after he went out with Lu Juyuan. By then, if he was 2 realms higher than Lu Juyuan, the spiritual pet treaty would be automatically terminated. But he didn't expect that Lu Juyuan actually knew how to make a contract with heaven. Although he was very fast, Lu Juyuan's actions were even faster. Before Zhaolong could react, Lu Juyuan had successfully formed a contract with him. Okay, from now on you will be my spiritual pet. After feeling that there was an inexplicable connection between himself and Zhaolong, Lu Juyuan said with satisfaction, while Zhaolong also froze on the spot. He was about to turn into a real dragon, so naturally he could feel things that other people couldn't. After signing the heavenly contract with Lu Juyuan, he felt that there was luck in Lu Juyuan, which was at least 100 times richer than ordinary people. Luck. After signing the contract of heaven, he naturally received strong luck from Lu Juyuan. The strong luck made the original bloodline barrier of Zhaolong's breakthrough to the real dragon disappear. At the same time, the sky in the entire secret realm became gloomy. This is the birth of a supreme treasure. Countless monks in the chi refining stage were shocked when they saw this scene, and rushed here. However, they did not expect that this was just a dragon transforming into a real dragon. Go and become a real dragon, otherwise I will stew you. Lu Juyuan looked at Zhaolong and said with a smile. The murderous smile made Zhaolong clenched his anus, and then flew out of the cave. After Zhaolong left, Lu Juyuan looked at Li Qingping and said with a solemn expression. I'm afraid this place will be discovered by others soon. Now absorb the glass treasure liquid as soon as possible. Li Qingping naturally knew that, and the two of them didn't care so much. They quickly jumped into the pool of colored glaze liquid. As their bodies were completely enveloped by the colored glaze liquid, both of them felt a burst of extremely pure energy improving them. Talent. The most obvious one is Li Qingping. After all, she started as a Huang level. With the help of Luli Baoye, she broke through to the Zan level in just a few minutes. She has not stopped yet and is still moving towards a more advanced level. On impact. Lu Juyuan's words are because he was originally a talent at the peak of the heaven level. Now he is naturally transforming into an immortal level talent, which naturally takes a long time. At the same time, countless monks were rushing towards this side. They all wanted to fight for the supreme treasure. However, they did not expect that what greeted them was just a dragon that transformed into a real dragon. Senior Sister Cheng, are we sure we don't want to get involved? Lin Yuan and Cheng Shui stood in the distance and watched the thunder tribulation in the distance. Lin Yuan asked curiously, with Senior Sister Cheng's strength, it shouldn't be too difficult to get the supreme treasure. Don't be anxious yet. After all, we are not far away from the supreme treasure. It is better to let them fight with each other first, and then we go there. This can save a lot of effort. Cheng Shui shook her head and said that although she was powerful, she would still be overwhelmed by so many chi refining stage monks. Oh, Lin Yuan nodded in understanding. In fact, there was one thing that Cheng Shui didn't say. She didn't know why she always felt that this thunder tribulation had a lot to do with Lu Juyuan. At the same time, the dragon has already faced thunder tribulation. To transform into a real dragon, the dragon needs to go through 9 layers of thunder tribulation. Only by passing through can it transform into a real dragon. Ha ha ha, come directly, I'm not afraid of you, Uncle Long. Jiaolong allowed the terrifying thunder and lightning to bombard his body and bathed in the glass treasure liquid for a long time. His physical body has been upgraded to an extremely terrifying level. It can be said that the peak of foundation building is enough to rival the gold core stage. The Qi refining stage monks outside had gathered at the edge of the thunder tribulation. They felt the power of the thunder tribulation and could not help but frown. If they were among them, they would definitely be blown away to nothing. But then they thought that the supreme treasure in it could trigger thunder tribulation, which must be of great help to them. However, no one thought that transcending tribulation was about living beings. After all, transcending tribulation is only needed to break through to the gold core stage, and it is impossible to break through to the gold core stage in the secret realm. It's just that there is such a thing as a creature's bloodline breakthrough, which I didn't expect at all. At the same time, under the earth, the talents of Lu Juyuan and Li Qingping began to improve under the nourishment of Lu Li Baoye. Li Qingping has been promoted from the yellow level talent to the peak of the earth level, and has not stopped yet. It seems that he should be able to break through to the heaven level. Lu Juyuan's words began to loosen up. Soon after, Lu Juyuan's body shook, and a dazzling golden light emitted from his whole body. This also meant that Lu Juyuan's talent had broken through from the peak of the heaven level to the immortal level. Low grade, but it didn't stop there. But he is still making breakthroughs. It seems that Lu Juyuan will break through to the peak talent of the immortal level. At this time, as the dragon outside continues to bathe in thunder tribulation, its gray scales are constantly fading away, and there is a large area of gold under the scales. After the scales are converted into golden scales, the transformation of the dragon will be successfully completed, and then it can be called a real dragon. At the same time, the Qi refining stage monks who were watching outside realized that something was wrong. Wait a minute, this transcending tribulation seems to be a living thing. One of the sharp-eyed monks caught a glimpse of something, and his face couldn't help but become serious. Previously, he caught a glimpse of a huge figure flashing past in the thunder tribulation. No way, the creatures that can trigger thunder tribulation are at least gold core level creatures. How could they appear in the secret realm? A monk stood up and retorted, but at this moment, a huge dragon roar came from the thunder tribulation. At this time, many monks finally realized that this transcending tribulation was not a supreme divine object. On the contrary, the creatures in the transcending tribulation are enough to kill them. Everyone, I have something else to do, so I won't accompany you any longer. At this moment, a monk stood up and bowed, and then flew away into the distance. He didn't believe that so many people could resist such a killing thing. If there is one, there will be two, and soon all the monks present left here one after another, leaving only more than 5,000 monks out of more than 10,000 monks. They actually want to subjugate the creatures among them and use them as their spiritual pets. The bloodline of the creatures that can trigger thunder tribulation must be supreme. If they can use it for their own use, it will definitely bring them a great improvement. Of course, the only reason they stayed was because they knew that their cultivation in the secret realm would never reach the gold core stage, and their own strength after transcending tribulation would definitely not be too strong. Even at the peak of foundation establishment, they would be able to fight. Cheng Shui and Lin Yuan, who were far away, naturally heard the dragon roar and frowned. Senior sister, if it were you, would you be confident in taking the monster beast under your command? Lin Yuan asked curiously. Cheng Shui just shook his head. It's difficult. After all, it can induce thunder tribulation. The spiritual cultivation level of this transcending tribulation will definitely not be any lower. However, if so many people can consume the strength of that creature, there might be a chance of success. Cheng Shui was a little excited. If she could trigger thunder tribulation, her future achievements would definitely not be much lower. If she could regain it, it would definitely be of great help. At the same time, Li Qingping's talent successfully broke through to the heaven level with the help of Lu Li Baoye. After breaking through to the heaven level, Li Qingping could feel that she could absorb spiritual energy more easily. After waking up, Li Qingping looked at Lu Juyuan immediately, and saw that Lu Juyuan was exuding bursts of golden light, and she could feel bursts of warmth when it shone on her body. Is Juyuan about to break through to the immortal level talent? Li Qingping said in shock, and then she saw something that shocked her for a whole year. As the golden light on Lu Juyuan's body increased again, the glazed liquid in the entire pool couldn't help but surge towards Lu Juyuan's body. Oh my god, is he going to absorb all the glazed liquid? Li Qingping's eyes couldn't help but widen, and her eyes were full of disbelief. You must know that she only absorbed a little bit and broke through to the early stage of heaven. If Lu Juyuan absorbs all the glazed liquid in the entire pool, will he be able to reach the peak of the immortal level? And the most important thing is that this has extremely strict requirements on the limit that the body can bear. If it cannot bear it, it is very likely that the body will explode and die. At this time, Lu Juyuan was unaware that his whole body seemed to be bathing in the chaos of heaven and earth, and his body also glowed with its original glory as the glass liquid was transformed. Lu Juyuan's talent had already broken through to the immortal level, and as the glass treasure liquid continued to pour into his body, Lu Juyuan's talent began to continuously impact towards higher levels. Immortal grade, middle grade, immortal grade, high grade, immortal grade peak. It broke through to the immortal grade peak before stopping. But at this time, the colored glaze liquid had not been completely absorbed, but it continued to surge into Lu Juyuan's body. Li Qingping was stunned when she saw this. After a moment, he regained consciousness and said with a shocked expression, Juyuan is shaping the glazed immortal body. It is rumored that the glazed immortal body is known as one of the top 100 immortal bodies that can be created afterward. It can be created by absorbing the glazed treasure liquid, but no one has been able to successfully experiment. The discovered glazed immortal body is basically innate. Quote, I didn't expect that I would see a wild glazed immortal body today. Li Qingping looked at Lu Juyuan, who was floating in the sky and emitting colorful light, with a shocked look on his face, and then his expression became a little weird. Just because those who possess the glazed immortal body are all women, this is probably the first time for Lu Juyuan to become a male cultivator with the glazed immortal body. At the same time, the dragon in Transcending Tribulation outside had also shed his dragon lin and transformed into a real dragon lin shining with golden light. The entire dragon's momentum seemed inviolable. As the dragon successfully transformed into a real dragon, the monks outside during the qi refining period finally realized that something was wrong. What? This is a real dragon. Their faces were full of shock. You must know that it was a real dragon. If nothing unexpected happened, it would definitely become an immortal. After knowing that it was a real dragon, they were shocked at first, but they quickly came to their senses. So what can a real dragon do? Under this level of thunder tribulation, I'm afraid there isn't much strength left. Thinking of this, a monk stood up and said, Everyone, come together. Don't be afraid. This true dragon is at the peak of foundation establishment. Now that it has just completed transcending tribulation, its strength is very low. I'm afraid it is only at the middle stage of foundation establishment. Yes, there are more than 5,000 of us here. If we go together, even the real dragon may not be our opponent. Let's go together. As someone stepped forward to make chicken soup, the surrounding monks soon rushed towards the real dragon like crazy. If they could tame a real dragon, it meant that they had harvested a dragon that could at least break through to the Mahayana stage of spiritual pets. At this time, the real dragon didn't know what was going on, but it was beaten wildly by a group of monks, which made it a little surprised. But after he reacted, he started his crazy counterattack. The real dragon killed more than a dozen qi refining stage monks on the spot with just one sweep. This scene made most of the monks fearful, but some people stood up and gave them a try. Don't be afraid, everyone. This real dragon is just a counterattack before dying. He suffered so much damage before, I'm afraid he has been seriously injured. After everyone heard this, they continued to attack the real dragon desperately. The real dragon couldn't help laughing after hearing this. Humans, you are seeking death on your own. After saying that, the real dragon showed no mercy and attacked the more than 5,000 monks with all his strength. This situation did not look like the 5,000 people were surrounding the real dragon. Instead, it looked like they were being unilaterally massacred by the real dragon. It's not surprising that the current body of the real dragon is enough to match the physical cultivation of the middle stage of gold core. Naturally, there is no need to dodge when facing a group of monks in the chi refining stage. Unfortunately, they foolishly thought that this was before the fall of the real dragon, a reflection. After all, even if they can't tame the real dragon, it will still be of great help to them if they can get the flesh and blood of the real dragon. But after more than 1,000 people died, they finally realized something was wrong. Who's the idiot who said that the real dragon is about to die? It seems like it hasn't even scratched its skin. You're still talking so much, let's go. Run away. Soon the monks present swarmed in all directions, but even so, hundreds of them were killed by the real dragon. Of course, it's not that the real dragon can't kill everyone, it's just that he is too lazy to chase, because Lu Juyuan is still here, and he has to rely on Lu Juyuan to take him out. Thinking of this, the huge body of the real dragon continued to shrink, and then flew in from the previous hole. At this time, Cheng Shui and Lin Yuren looked at the figure of the real dragon, their eyes full of fear. Obviously, if they went up, they would probably end up not much better than those monks in the chi refining stage. I didn't expect that a real dragon would be born in the Qingfeng secret realm. Now I'm afraid the entire pattern of the Qingfeng secret realm will change. Cheng Shui took a deep breath to calm down, while Lin Yuren said with lingering fear. Yes, I can feel the pressure of the real dragon even from such a distance. It is really terrifying. But I'm very curious about how this real dragon was born. Cheng Shui looked at the entrance of the cave where the real dragon flew down, with a little curiosity on his face, while Lin Yuren naturally knew Cheng Shui's personality, and said with some hesitation on his face. Senior sister, I'm afraid this is very dangerous. If the real dragon discovers it, I'm afraid the two of us will be trapped here. Hearing this, Cheng Shui just shook her head, with a look of determination on her face. Junior sister, if you don't enter the tiger's den, you won't catch the tiger's cubs. And I have an intuition that the real dragon probably transformed into a real dragon with the help of some kind of heavenly and earthly treasures. As Cheng Shui finished speaking, Lin Yuren quickly reacted. Sister, what I mean is that there is glazed liquid underneath. I don't know, but won't you know if you go down and take a look? After Cheng Shui said that, she rushed towards the pit. Lin Yuren hesitated for a while but gritted her teeth and followed. Sister, wait for me. Master, are you shaping the glazed immortal body? After the real dragon flew down, what came into view was Lu Juyuan floating in the sky. He said with some disbelief. After hearing the real dragon's words, Li Qingping looked at the real dragon in surprise. Where did you learn about the glazed immortal body? After hearing this, Zhenlong said seriously. We, the true dragon clan, have bloodline memories. Many things can be known only by breaking through the bloodline. After Li Qingping heard this, she suddenly realized that it was not that she didn't know about this kind of thing, on the contrary, she often heard about it. While Zhenlong and Li Qingping were waiting for Lu Juyuan to successfully shape the glazed immortal body, two heads poked out from the edge of the pit, which directly attracted Zhenlong's attention. Who is it? Get out of here. The real dragon snorted coldly, and then appeared in front of the pit. What made him curious was that he saw nothing. Strange, I clearly feel something. Although it was a little strange, the eyes could not deceive, so the real dragon shook his head and returned to Li Qingping. What's wrong? Li Qingping asked solemnly. The real dragon disappeared before she could react. It's okay, it's just an illusion. The real dragon shook his head, and then continued to protect Lu Juyuan. After all, Lu Juyuan was his recognized master. But what the real dragon didn't expect was that on the edge of the pit at this time, two figures were trembling with fear. How is it possible? The real dragon actually has an owner, and it's still that guy. Cheng Shui was on the edge of the pit, looking at Lu Juyuan floating in the sky, because she had never seen what the glazed treasure liquid looked like, and she would never have thought that Lu Juyuan was actually building a glazed immortal body at this time. They were indeed discovered by the real dragon before, but with the concealment charm given by the elders of the sect, they were not discovered by the real dragon. My little brother is so powerful. I must get to know him later. Lin Yuren said with admiration, if he could tame a real dragon, Lu Juyuan must be extremely powerful. At the same time, Lu Juyuan's construction of the glazed immortal body came to the final critical moment, and the sky outside the pit became gloomy again. This made the monks in the secret realm shocked again. Thunder tribulation has appeared again. Is it because the previous true dragon is about to break through to the gold core stage? Oh my god, this secret realm should be over soon. If the real dragon breaks through to the gold core stage, will we still be able to survive? But doesn't it mean that you can't break through to the gold core stage in the secret realm? Even the real dragon has appeared. It is a rare thing to break through to the gold core stage. The monks in the entire secret realm looked solemnly at the thunder tribulation brewing in the distance. No one would have thought that this was just the thunder tribulation caused by the birth of Lu Juyuan's immortal body. At this time, there are still 2 days before the secret realm is closed. With the appearance of thunder tribulation, Lu Juyuan woke up involuntarily. What's wrong? Seeing the strange looks in Li Qingping and Zhenlong's eyes, Lu Juyuan asked curiously. Li Qingping was still thinking of saying something, but still urged. You'd better go out and talk about transcending tribulation first. Transcending tribulation. Lu Juyuan was a little surprised, but he felt something locked on him. He had no time to think about it, so he could only reach the pit and jump up directly, rushing towards the ground. Li Qingping and Zhenlong stayed in the pit. If they went out, they would be locked by the thunder tribulation immediately. Li Qingping was not sure of surviving the thunder tribulation at this time. When Lu Juyuan came to the ground, he saw the rumbling clouds in the sky, and his face suddenly became serious. Didn't he just break through to the immortal level talent? As for transcending tribulation. But now that thunder tribulation is about to chop down, Lu Juyuan can only take out the Qingfeng sword and look at the sky solemnly. This is his first time with transcending tribulation. He doesn't know what the power of thunder tribulation will be like. Listen, people who say transcending tribulation always narrowly escape death, I don't know if that's true. In Lu Juyuan's solemn expression, thunder tribulation also fell. Seeing the thunder tribulation, Lu Juyuan decided to test his hand first and use 20% of his power. As the thunder tribulation got closer, Lu Juyuan shouted softly, "One yang slash." As Yi Yang Zan collided with thunder tribulation, the terrifying thunder tribulation was cut in half in an instant. Lu Juyuan. Thunder tribulation. Thunder tribulation. This is the first time I have seen such a fierce human being. I don't want to kill him anymore. What should I do? I'm waiting online. It's quite urgent. This thunder tribulation isn't that good either. If that's the case, then I'm pretty sure. At this time, Lu Juyuan finally knew where the limit of his combat power was. At least it was more than enough to deal with thunder tribulation. Thinking of this, Lu Juyuan hesitated and directly clenched the Qingfeng sword, and then all his strength poured into the Qingfeng sword. In an instant, a brilliant sword light burst out from the Qingfeng sword. Qingfengzhan. Lu Juyuan was heard shouting violently, and the terrifying sword light suddenly struck towards thunder tribulation. This scene shocked the monks in the distance. Oh my god, I read that right, someone actually dares to attack the thunder tribulation itself. Are you sure this won't piss off thunder tribulation? Hey, it's too scary. I'd better eat the melon. From ancient times to the present, monks have basically let the thunder tribulation chop them down when transcending tribulation. Very few people would take action against the thunder tribulation itself, because doing so would be considered disdainful of the way of heaven and would give birth to even more terrifying thunder tribulations. The thunder tribulation of 9 deaths will become 10 deaths and no life. But what they didn't expect was that under Lu Juyuan's sword, the dark sky became clear again, as if the thunder tribulation had never existed. Monks in the Qi refining stage. Oh my god, am I right? Are you sure someone can split the thunder tribulation directly? I'm so envious. No, I'll give it a try next time. Hey, it's so scary. What did this guy grow up on? The monks in the distance could only see a figure breaking through the thunder tribulation, but they could not clearly see Lu Juyuan's appearance. After the transcending tribulation was successful, Lu Juyuan did not hesitate and jumped directly into the pit again. Because he had a premonition that he was about to break through to the foundation building stage. A familiar landing method. After seeing Lu Juyuan return, Li Qingping knew that Lu Juyuan should have succeeded. She was about to go up to tell him about the glazed immortal body, but was interrupted by Lu Juyuan. Let's talk about it later. I can't suppress my cultivation now. I want to transcending tribulation. After saying that, Lu Juyuan sat down directly on the spot and fell into a state of cultivation. At this time, the spiritual energy in the entire secret realm was rushing towards Lu Juyuan like a tide. Where is my spiritual energy? I have so much spiritual energy. I am making a breakthrough. Where has all the spiritual energy gone? Why are there so many things happening in this secret realm? First there was the real dragon, then the thunder tribulation was broken with one sword, and now the aura is gone again. Countless monks in the secret realm said with shocked faces that all the spiritual energy in the entire secret realm disappeared. This situation is absolutely unbelievable, but it does happen. When Li Qingping and others in the pit saw this scene, their eyes couldn't help but be shocked. His body can withstand so much spiritual energy. It is indeed an immortal body. Only such a powerful person can become my master. The real dragon said with a satisfied look on his face that he had already signed a heavenly contract with Lu Juyuan, so he had no intention of leaving Lu Juyuan. Moreover, Lu Juyuan had such strong luck that he was definitely lucky to become Lu Juyuan's pet. Cheng Shui and Lin Yuan were stunned when they saw this scene. Those who knew that they were breaking through the foundation building stage, and those who didn't know thought they were breaking through to the nascent soul stage. Just kidding, if an ordinary qi refining stage monk would dare to inhale so much spiritual energy, no, let alone a qi refining stage monk, even a foundation establishment stage monk would definitely be unable to bear it and explode to death. But Lu Juyuan glanced at the innocent person, at least there was no change in his face. At this time, Lu Juyuan ignored the outside situation. Now he is casting the Tao foundation of the Hongmeng Great Tao according to the Hongmeng 10,000 Dharma Sutra. The so-called foundation realm is to build Tao foundation to prepare the foundation for breaking through to a more powerful realm in the future, and Tao foundation is divided into grades. The Tao foundation of ordinary monks is only 10 feet in size at the beginning, and those who can break through to a height above 10 feet and below 100 feet are called geniuses. A person who is above 100 feet and 1,000 feet below can be called a peerless genius. As for Hongmeng Tao Foundation, he will refine himself into Tao Foundation, and use himself as Tao Foundation to be divided into the strongest Tao Foundation. As the spiritual energy of the entire secret realm poured into Lu Juyuan's body, Lu Juyuan's Hongmeng Tao Foundation was about to be completed, and an extremely simple and magnificent aura emanated from Lu Juyuan's body. The whole person looked like a god who could not be blasphemed, and then even the real dragon almost bowed his head. What kind of Tao foundation did Master create? It actually makes me feel terrified. Junlong said with lingering fear on his face, and Li Qingping said in disbelief after feeling this aura. The peerless genius is definitely the Tao foundation at the peerless genius level. You must know that her father Li Xuanren is the Tao foundation of 199 feet. But judging from the situation, I am afraid that Lu Juyuan's Tao foundation should reach 999 feet. As for the immortality, Li Qingping did not think about it. The main reason is that the Tao foundation's existence has basically become a terrifying existence above the human immortal stage. This terrifying scene made Cheng Shui and Lin Yuan feel frightened. They felt that Lu Juyuan could easily crush them to death. This feeling was like a giant dragon looking down at ants. But this feeling did not last long. One day later, Lu Juyuan's realm was finally consolidated in the early stage of foundation building. In the qi refining stage, one can only perform some low-end immortal arts and martial arts. Only when one breaks through to the foundation stage can one wield a sword and become an immortal. Only when one's lifespan reaches 200 years can one be called an immortal. And after breaking through to the foundation building stage, spiritual consciousness can be born, which can have a panoramic view of the surrounding situation, and can also see many things that cannot be seen under normal circumstances. Under normal circumstances, the spiritual consciousness of monks who have just broken through to the foundation building stage can only have a range of 2 meters, which is simply pitifully low. Some monks with extraordinary talents can reach a range of 10 meters. Only with the breakthrough of cultivation, only by strengthening one's spiritual consciousness can one strengthen one's spiritual consciousness. Of course, one can also strengthen one's spiritual consciousness by practicing the spiritual consciousness tempering method. It's just that at this time, Lu Juyuan fell into a state of deep contemplation, wondering what it was like for his spiritual consciousness to be able to see a radius of 200 meters. But in the end, Lu Juyuan still blamed it on practicing the Hongmeng 10,000 Dharma Sutra. After all, the Hongmeng 10,000 Dharma Sutra is a god-level skill. It makes sense that the foundation building consciousness that he broke through would be stronger. You have now broken through to the foundation building stage. Li Qingping stepped forward and expressed concern at this time, while Lu Juyuan looked at the entrance of the cave over there and frowned. Seeing this, Cheng Shui and Lin Yuran ran away without any hesitation. Feeling the disappearance of the aura, Lu Juyuan just shook his head, thinking it was all an illusion, and then looked at Li Qingping. Well, if there are no accidents, I should be a monk in the foundation building stage now. Li Qingping breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this, and then looked at Lu Juyuan and asked with a complicated expression. Do you feel any discomfort in your body? Lu Juyuan looked strange. No, what's wrong? After thinking about it, Li Qingping decided to tell her about the glazed immortal body. Immortal body, isn't that great? Speaking of the immortal body, Lu Juyuan said subconsciously, while Li Qingping sighed. The immortal body is naturally excellent, but this is the glazed immortal body, which is known as the immortal body of women. Although the glazed immortal body ranks high among the top 100 immortal bodies, the glazed immortal body is known as the top cultivation cauldron and is extremely tempting even to monks at the Mahayana stage. After hearing Li Qingping's words, the smile on Lu Juyuan's face disappeared and he immediately knelt on the ground. No, this sound of sadness spread throughout the pit, but at this time Li Qingping said quickly. But as long as you don't expose your glazed immortal body, there shouldn't be any problems. Besides, you don't have any problems either. Lu Juyuan felt a lot better after hearing this, while Li Qingping smiled and continued. Furthermore, the cultivation speed of the glazed immortal body is extremely fast before the body is broken. Coupled with your talent, I'm afraid it will only take you 100 years to break through to the soul formation stage. The soul formation stage only takes a century. Who are you looking down on? At least they are already at the transcending tribulation stage. Speaking of the century-old soul formation stage, Lu Juyuan immediately said unconvincedly, he is just hanging on the wall. Is it possible that he still cannot break through the transcending tribulation stage within 100 years? Li Qingping was about to refute, but after seeing Lu Juyuan's confident expression, she thought about it and decided not to attack him. She would find out after 100 years. After talking about the glazed immortal body, Lu Juyuan looked at the real dragon aside. By the way, do you have a name? I can't always call you True Dragon. After hearing this, the real dragon said quickly. Master, I don't have a name, please give me a name. Don't you have a name? If that's the case, let's call it Aocean. You are a dragon. If that's the case, let's call it Long Aocean. Lu Juyuan thought for a moment and said with some evil in his heart, but Junlong didn't know about this. He just thought the name was so domineering, so he said excitedly immediately. Long Aocean thanks the master for the name. Okay, the secret realm is about to be closed. Long Aocean, how are you going to follow us out? Li Qingping reminded at this time. Lu Juyuan then remembered that the secret realm would be closed soon, and then looked at Long Aocean, who said quickly. Master, don't worry, I can control my body shape. After saying that, Long Aocean began to control his reminder, and his huge body shrank, and soon turned into a palm-sized mini dragon, lying obediently on Lu Juyuan's shoulders. At this time, a wave of repulsive power filled Lu Juyuan's body, and Li Qingping looked to the side like this, which meant that the secret realm was about to be closed. As the force of repulsion continued to increase, the bodies of 2 people and 1 dragon disappeared into the secret realm, and the remaining monks were also teleported out one after another. In the secret realm, the 1000 Ghost King has been waiting outside the secret realm for a long time, and there are no monks around the 1000 Ghost King who want to talk to him. After all, the 1000 Ghost King is so powerful that he can kill even the monks on the soul formation stage in an instant. Plus, he has the aura of keeping strangers away, so naturally no one is willing to come forward to find him. At this moment, the 1000 Ghost King opened his eyes and looked at the secret realm ahead. Out. As his words fell, bodies appeared one after another in front of the secret realm. Some people cried bitterly, some survived the disaster, and some people died on the spot due to excessive injuries the moment they came out. They were called because Zaiji can't escape. Soon Lu Juyuan and Li Qingping were teleported out, and a small dragon lay lazily on Lu Juyuan's shoulder. Although he now wants to break through to the gold core stage, he knows that this is not a good place for a breakthrough. The smell outside is better, but I feel uncomfortable inside, Lu Juyuan said as he walked towards the Thousand Ghost King, while Li Qingping followed him and nodded in agreement. Young master, are you coming out? Hey, this is it. Thousand Ghost King greeted Lu Juyuan warmly after seeing him, but his attention was quickly attracted by Long Aotian on Lu Juyuan's shoulder. Oh, this is a real dragon, what's wrong? Lu Juyuan said it without hesitation, and the Thousand Ghost King couldn't help but gasp when he heard this, and then congratulated heartily. Congratulations, young master, on getting a pet. Hey, keep a low profile, it's just a small thing, Lu Juyuan said in a low-key tone. The Thousand Ghost King then shut up and gave Lu Juyuan a look that he understood. After all, every true dragon is destined to become a terrifying existence on the Mahayana stage if it does not die young. Okay, the trip to the secret realm is over, take us back, Lu Juyuan said, and the Thousand Ghost King immediately took him and Li Qingping and flew back towards Qingfeng town in the distance. Uncle Lu who just came back at this time. But there was no choice but to rush back in the direction of Qingfeng town. At the same time, in the city lord's palace of Pansi town, a young man in green clothes sat in the city lord's palace, looking curiously at the Yuan family that had been destroyed in the distance. I don't know how Yuan Changqing provoked this girl Qingping, but it doesn't matter, he is just a monk in the void refining stage and has little impact on our Yuanwu kingdom. The young man in green shirt is the city lord of Pansi town, Li Qingping's third uncle, Li Xuanyu. He had no interest in government affairs many years ago, so he came to Pansi town on his own to become a city lord Dangdang, and Li Xuanyu was also a genuine peak-fit monk. The Thousand Ghost King was extremely fast. Soon Lu Juyuan and his party returned to Qingfeng town and stopped in front of the Lu family. Before Lu Juyuan could speak, Lu Zan and Lu Changsheng appeared in front of him. Juyuan, have you broken through to the foundation building stage? The two of them naturally felt the changes in Lu Juyuan and said with some surprise, and Lu Juyuan naturally would not deny it in front of the two ancestors. He nodded and said seriously, I found some opportunities in the secret realm, and luckily broke through to the foundation building stage. I see. Lu Changsheng and Lu Zan nodded, and Li Qingping spoke at this time. Senior Lu, Juyuan, since you still have something to discuss, I will leave first. I also feel the opportunity to break through the foundation building period. After Li Qingping said that, she turned around and left, while Lu Juyuan looked at the Thousand Ghost King. Qiangui, please send Qingping back to the princess's mansion. Thank you very much. Li Qingping was surprised for a moment after hearing this, and then bowed, and soon the Thousand Ghost King disappeared with Li Qingping. At this time, Lu Juyuan told what happened in the secret realm. After hearing about the glazed liquid, both Lu Changsheng and Lu Zan couldn't help being shocked. Lu Juyuan could actually find the opportunity that others had not found, which meant that Lu Juyuan was probably quite lucky. Although luck is invisible and intangible, it does exist. At the same time, luck is also extremely important for a monk's cultivation. If you have excellent luck, you may be able to break through to an extremely advanced realm without much effort. Then they heard Lu Juyuan talk about the glazed immortal body, and the two of them frowned, because they had never heard of that man possessing the glazed immortal body. From ancient times to the present, the holders of the glazed immortal body are basically women. Taking a deep breath, Lu Changsheng explained with a solemn expression. Juyuan, you must not tell anyone that you possess the glazed immortal body, otherwise it may cause a lot of trouble. Well, I understand. Lu Juyuan nodded seriously, while Lu Changsheng asked again. By the way, who else knows that you have the glazed immortal body? Li Qingping, but she has a very good relationship with me, so she probably won't leak this matter. Lu Juyuan thought for a while and then said. Lu Changsheng and Lu Zan looked at each other. Presumably, Li Qingping and Lu Juyuan felt like their membranes were about to be broken, and Li Qingping would not do such a thing at this time. In short, practice well first and never tell anyone about the glazed immortal body. Lu Changsheng explained with a serious face, while Lu Juyuan nodded again. It was at this moment that Lu Changsheng noticed the real dragon on Lu Juyuan's shoulder and became a little surprised. There is actually a real dragon in the Qingfeng secret realm. At this time, Long Aotian had long been wrapped around Lu Juyuan's shoulders and did not dare to move. He felt that the Thousand Ghost King before was very powerful, let alone Lu Changsheng at this time. This feeling is like the kind of existence that can kill me instantly with just one look, and may not even be able to withstand the pressure on me. At the same time, I am also curious about what kind of terrifying family my master is. Well, now he has become my spiritual pet, named Long Aocean. Lu Juyuan introduced, while Long Aocean greeted him respectfully. In Halong Aocean, I'll pay my respects to two seniors. Well, Long Aocean, you should be the spiritual pet of my young master, the Lu family. Otherwise, your soul will be scattered. Lu Changsheng snorted coldly and said, it can be said that Lu Juyuan at this time can be regarded as the most talented person in the history of the Lu family. Naturally, he will not let anything harm Lu Juyuan. Yes, senior, I will definitely assist my master. Long Aocean said quickly under such pressure. Well, this drop of dragon's blood was accidentally obtained in one of my secret realms. Just take it and use it. After speaking, Lu Changsheng took out a drop of dragon's blood from the storage ring, and the dragon's blood still exuded a terrifying pressure, which showed that his cultivation during his lifetime was absolutely terrifying. Hiss, thank you ancestor for the gift. Long Aocean felt the terrifying energy above the dragon's blood. If he absorbed it, it would definitely be of great benefit to him, so he kept thanking Lu Changsheng. As Long Aocean introduced the dragon's blood into his body, Lu Juyuan also spoke at this time. Ancestor, I just came out of the secret realm and am already a little tired, so I won't disturb you and take my leave. After saying that, Lu Juyuan walked back to the Lu family, while Lu Zan and Lu Changsheng shook their heads. Lu Juyuan was burdened with the prosperity of the Lu family, and it was impossible to say that the pressure was not great. It seems that we should arrange the marriage between Juyuan and Qingping Nanizi as soon as possible, find a woman who can relax Juyuan, and at the same time open up the branches of my Lu family. Lu Changsheng sighed and said that he and Lu Zan had higher cultivation levels. If they wanted to rely on the two of them to spread the branches of the Lu family, it would probably take a long time. At this time, Lu Juyuan didn't know that the two ancestors were worried about their marriage again, and the same was true for Li Qingping on the other side. After Li Qingping returned to the princess's mansion, she began to retreat to break through and build the foundation. It's just that she is not as good as Lu Juyuan, so it will naturally take some time to break through to the foundation building stage. Miss has been in seclusion for 2.5 days. She should be fine. Before the retreat room, Zhao King wandered in front of the door with some worry. If her consciousness hadn't checked that Li Qingping's condition was still stable, she would have broken in long ago. Li Qingping, who was in the retreat room, was in the process of building Dao Foundation. After 2 days, Li Qingping's Dao Foundation had been successfully polished to a size of 99 feet, but Li Qingping did not make a breakthrough. I choose to continue polishing. You have to work harder, otherwise you won't be able to catch up with him. Li Qingping secretly thought in her heart that it was by relying on this belief that Li Qingping was able to break through the bottleneck and successfully break through the 100-meter bottleneck of her Dao Foundation, and finally polished it to a size of 399 feet, which is not bad. Boom, boom, only a low roar was heard in the retreat room. Zhao King paused in her steps, and then said happily. The princess has broken through the foundation building period. After breaking through to the foundation building stage, Li Qingping did not leave seclusion. Instead, she continued to retreat to stabilize her state. Finally, she came out 3 days later. By the time she came out, her state had stabilized at the early stage of foundation building. Congratulations, Miss, for breaking through the foundation building stage. When Zhao King saw Li Qingping coming out, she quickly congratulated her, while Li Qingping shook her head. Zhao King, it's hard for you to stay outside during this time. Miss, this is what I should do. Zhao King said seriously, while Li Qingping laughed helplessly. There is really nothing I can do against you. I have already broken through to the foundation building stage. You should go back and have a good rest. Zhao King was thinking about refusing, but after seeing Li Qingping's tough eyes, she could only agree. I understand, ma'am. In the capital of Yuan Kingdom, Li Xuanren sat in the palace with a solemn expression, and in front of him were the entire senior officials of Yuan Kingdom. Everyone, what do you think? After Li Xuanren said that, he threw out an envelope with 7 big characters written on it. Invitation letter to the 100 Kingdoms competition. When they saw the invitation letter for the 100 Kingdoms competition, the faces of the entire Yuan Kingdom's senior officials changed. It was obvious that this 100 Kingdoms competition was not a good thing. Your Majesty, 10 years ago the 100 Kingdoms ranked lower than our Yuan Kingdom. Perhaps we should not participate this time. Soon a senior executive came forward, but was quickly refuted. Li Chengxian, what do you mean? If you don't go, won't you lose our Yuan Kingdom? In the eyes of others, won't our Yuan Kingdom be just cowards? A big man with long cheeks snorted and said, Cheng Wu, what will happen if you go? Is it possible that the current situation of our Yuan country can be changed? Li Chengxian couldn't help but retorted, while Cheng Wu stood up. It is better to die than to be called a coward. As the two quarreled, hundreds of people present began to take sides. The scene was extremely chaotic for a while, but Li Xuanren took a deep breath and allowed them to quarrel. Until the end, the two of them looked at Li Xuanren and bowed. It's better for your Majesty to make the final decision on this matter. Good guy, I didn't expect the ball to be kicked back to me, Li Xuanren thought to himself with a slightly raised brow, but still sighed and said. In that case, let's start allocating the 5 places to participate in the 100 Kingdoms competition from now on. If you can get the top 100 in the 100 Kingdoms competition, I will be greatly rewarded. Li Xuanren stood up, a surge of domineering energy burst out from his body, and Cheng Wu said excitedly after hearing this. I obey. After all the officials present left, only Cheng Wu and Li Chengxian were still here. Your Majesty, I wonder why you keep us here. Li Chengxian bowed, and so did Cheng Wu. Alas, in recent years, our country, Yuanwu, has fewer and fewer geniuses. Compared with other countries, it is more than a little bit weaker. This makes me very worried. Li Xuanren sighed and said with a sad look on his face, while Cheng Wu said quickly. Your Majesty, there is no need to worry. As far as I know, our Yuanwu Kingdom has had a lot more young geniuses in the past few years. Some people even broke through to the Yuanying stage before the age of 30. They must be able to achieve better results for our Yuanwu Kingdom. Ranking. Hearing this, Li Xuanren just shook his head. I hope so. It's just that in the last 100 Kingdoms competition, there were even geniuses from the middle nascent soul stage. I don't know if there will be any weirdos this time. Li Xuanren's words made Cheng Wu speechless. The last time they lost in the 100 Kingdoms competition, they, Yuanwu country, lost miserably. I originally thought that sending gold core monks would be enough to get a good ranking, but I didn't expect that there are many gold core monks under the age of 30, and even nascent soul monks exist. The 100 Kingdoms competition was convened by Tianyang State, a nearby 4th-rate force, as the organizer, and Yuanwu State, as a 5th-rate force, was naturally on its invitation list. Its purpose is to facilitate the ranking of geniuses from various forces, and the target is geniuses under the age of 30. There is a powerful person at the peak of human immortal in the Tianyang Kingdom, so Li Xuanren naturally has to show some mercy. Soon, the news of the 100 Kingdoms competition spread throughout the Yuanwu Kingdom, and many geniuses were very interested in it. Boom! In the deep mountains and old forests, a 10-meter-sized giant bear rushed towards a thin figure. At first glance, it turned out to be a young man. However, facing the giant bear's attack, the young man's face showed no clue, but prepared a prepared look. The starting position. As the giant bear came to him and opened its mouth and was about to bite him off, the young man raised his hand and punched the giant bear on the head. The terrifying force directly smashed the giant bear's head into pieces. As the giant bear's body fell to the ground, an old man appeared here at some unknown time, looking at the young man with eyes full of pride. Tianer, you have now reached the peak of gold core. It's time to come out. The old man said lightly, and looking at the giant bear's body, it exuded a faint aura of gold core. Yes, master, but where should I go if I leave the mountain? The young man put on his clothes and asked respectfully. Forget it, the 100 Kingdoms competition is about to begin. Not many people from the Yuanwu Kingdom have gone to participate. I will go and win a spot for you as a teacher. The old man thought for a while and then said, and he was the famous monk in the early stage of transcending tribulation in Yuanwu Kingdom, named the Sword Breaker. The Sword Immortal sect of Yuanwu Kingdom. In the Sword Immortal sect, I saw a young man dancing his sword. The speed was very slow at first, but soon the speed increased, until finally, only the afterimages of the paths could be seen, or even only the afterimages could be seen. The young man stood still and did not move, but the sword energy had spread all over his body. It wasn't until an elder from the Sword Immortal sect came to him that the young man stopped. "Elder Wu, what's the matter?" the young man asked in a neither humble nor arrogant tone, while Elder Wu looked at the young man with a trace of respect in his eyes. "Zhanzi, the sect master invites you." Not long after, the young man followed Elder Wu to the Zongmen Hall, where a group of elders had been waiting for a long time. Zhang Chengfeng has met the elders and paid homage to the sect master. And on the position of the sect leader, an old man with a fluttering white beard was seen sitting on it and looking at Zhang Chengfeng with a smile on his face. "Cheng Feng, if I remember correctly, you seem to have reached the peak of gold core now." Back to the sect leader, "I was lucky enough to break through to the peak of gold core some time ago." Zhang Chengfeng said, neither humble nor arrogant. "Well, are you willing to fight for some glory for our Sword Immortal sect?" After saying that, Xie Zhanxian, the master of the Sword Immortal sect, told the story of the 100 Kingdoms competition. "With my dignity, I can give you a chance," Xie Zhanxian said with a serious face, but what Zhang Chengfeng cared about was not this, but whether there was a genius in the 100 Kingdoms competition. "Are there any geniuses?" "Of course there is." "Then why be afraid?" I agreed. I saw Zhang Chengfeng carrying his sword on his back, and then rushed towards the country. At the same time, all the major forces in the Yuanwu kingdom sent their own geniuses towards the country. Obviously, they all wanted to show up at the 100 Kingdoms competition and get Li Xuanren's reward. Obviously, they could. I don't believe that the things Li Xuanren gave me can be thrown away. As the princess of Yuanwu kingdom, Li Qingping naturally received the news. "Miss, is it possible that you also want to participate?" When Zhao King found Li Qingping, what Li Qingping was holding was the message sent from the capital, and what was written on it was the news of the 100 Kingdoms competition. Li Qingping just shook her head. "I know how much strength I have, so let's forget about the 100 Kingdoms competition. I'm afraid I'll be eliminated from the beginning after just one foundation building period." "What do you think, miss?" Zhao King asked curiously. After all, she didn't believe that the young lady would watch for so long without participating. Hearing this, Li Qingping thought for a while and then said, "I'm wondering if Master Lu can participate due to his strength." Let's forget it. After all, he is only in the foundation building stage, and those who participated in the 100 Kingdoms competition have basically reached the gold core stage, especially last year, there was even a nascent soul stage." Thinking of something, Zhao King's expression became a little serious, but Li Qingping still said, "No matter what, I think it's still necessary to tell him about this. Phew, we have finally stabilized our strength at the early stage of foundation building." In the retreat room, Lu Zhuyuan withdrew from his cultivation state, and his strength had improved a lot again. It was already the 5th day since he came out of the Qingfeng secret realm. It took 5 days for Lu Zhuyuan to finally stabilize his strength at the early stage of foundation building. This speed was not too slow. But at this moment, Lu Zhuyuan received news from the Thousand Ghost King. "Young master, the princess is here to find you. Qingping came to see me." Lu Zhuyuan was a little curious. He happened to have just finished practicing, so he simply went to have a look. Then he learned about the 100 Kingdoms competition from Li Qingping. "I wonder what Zhuyuan thinks of this matter?" Li Qingping asked, while Lu Zhuyuan fell into deep thought. After all, he knew his strength. He could counterattack the early gold core stage when he broke through the early stage of foundation construction, let alone now. What interests him the most is that he can go to Tianyang Kingdom on this trip, which is a country more powerful than Yuanwu Kingdom. If he can provoke it, he will have a backer in the Earth Immortal realm. Lu Zhuyuan asked after thinking of this. "I wonder when the 100 Kingdoms competition will start." A month later, "Mr. Lu, are you interested?" Li Qingping thought for a while and then said that the news from her father was that she would leave in a month. "Well, I want to go out and see the world, and 1 month is enough for me to break through to the peak of foundation building. It's not impossible for me to participate in the 100 Kingdoms competition." Lu Zhuyuan nodded, and Li Qingping naturally knew that Lu Zhuyuan's strength could not be measured by his realm. After learning that Lu Juyuan was going to participate, Li Qingping couldn't help but said. If that's the case, then I'll go with you, just in time to see the world. When Lu Juyuan told Lu Changsheng and Lu Zan the news, Lu Changsheng didn't say anything, but took out a jade pendant and handed it to Lu Juyuan. This jade pendant was refined by my ancestor myself. It is enough to withstand 3 attacks from the peak monks of Mahayana. And this jade tablet contains a trace of my ancestor's soul. I only need to activate my ancestor to protect you. Quote. Lu Changsheng said with a domineering look. This move also made Lu Juyuan feel a lot of warmth, and he said seriously. Ancestor, don't worry, this trip will definitely not damage the reputation of my Lu family. Well, go ahead. No matter what happens, my ancestor will take care of it for you. Soon, Lu Changsheng and Li Qingping got on the flying magic weapon and rushed towards the capital. After all, there was no need to rush this time, and Lu Juyuan was about to reach the realm, so it was not a bad idea to go slower. The 1,000 Ghost King followed Lu Juyuan to the 100 Kingdoms competition to protect Lu Juyuan's safety. After Lu Juyuan left, Lu Changsheng said calmly. Speaking of which, we still have some unsettled accounts with Yumo sect. After saying that, Lu Changsheng disappeared and rushed towards the location of Yumo sect. Just because he was not free before, it did not mean that the grudge between him and Yumo sect was no longer there. The Yumo sect wanted to kill Lu Juyuan, which was a sworn hatred. At this time, the Yumo king did not know that a disaster was coming. What on earth did this 1,000 Ghost King go to? Why hasn't he come back for so long? After sending the 1,000 Ghost King out, the Wandering Demon King went into seclusion and began to recover from his injuries. Now that he finally recovered a little and came out of seclusion, he received the news that the 1,000 Ghost King had not returned, so he said angrily. At this moment, a monstrous coercion was directly exerted on the entire Wandering Demon sect, and the monks who had the strength to resist the soul formation stage were directly killed by this coercion. Which senior passed by me while traveling through the Demon Gate? The Demon King could hardly stand upright at this time, and said with a look of horror on his face. Before this pressure, he felt like an ant, without the slightest resistance. Is this the Wandering Demon Gate? At this moment, the figure in the sky said lightly, and the Demon King said it without thinking. This is the Wandering Demon sect, what's wrong? The moment he said these words, Lu Changsheng in the sky also determined the goal of his trip. It's just the Wandering Demon sect, the world transcending mercy palm. Lu Changsheng transformed into a huge palm print and landed directly towards the demonic sect. No, before the absolute difference in strength, the Demon King didn't even have the slightest resistance, and was turned into ashes along with the entire demon sect. After destroying the Wandering Demon sect, Lu Changsheng glanced in a certain direction before rushing back towards the Lu family. Not long after Lu Changsheng left, a figure appeared here with lingering fear. I'm afraid this lord has discovered me. I must tell His Majesty what's going on here as soon as possible. After saying that, he got the figure and rushed back towards the country of Yuan Kingdom. He was the secret son sent by Li Xuanren to monitor the Yumo sect. Chapter 31. This Lu Changsheng is really terrifying. From the photo stone, Li Xuanren also saw the magnificent sight of Lu Changsheng destroying the entire Wandering Demon sect with just one blow, and he couldn't help but be shocked by it. Judging from Lu Changsheng's strength, Lu Changsheng is at least a high-level Mahayana. Then I am afraid that if he breaks through to the Mahayana stage, he will still have to be submissive to the Lu family. By the way, Haspinger followed Lu Juyuan back towards the capital. Li Xuanren turned and looked at Anzi aside. Your Majesty, the princess and Mr. Lu have returned to the capital. According to the timetable, it will take another 3 days. A figure emerged from the void on one side and said respectfully to Li Xuanren. Li Qingping had informed Lu Juyuan before when he agreed to go to the 100 Kingdoms competition, so it was not surprising that he knew the news. Young Master Lu is only in the foundation building period. If you go to the 100 Kingdoms competition, you will probably lose miserably, so you should find a reason to let Mr. Lu withdraw on your own. Li Xuanren thought of Lu Juyuan's cultivation and shook his head helplessly. He had previously learned from Li Qingping that Lu Juyuan could counterattack the early stage of foundation building at the peak of qi refining. But this is the 100 Kingdoms competition, and your opponents will not compete with you at the same level. Although you have now broken through to the foundation building stage, it is still not good enough in the 100 Kingdoms competition. Gold core stages are everywhere. But what Li Xuanren never expected was that Lu Juyuan, who was about to arrive in the capital, would give him a little bit of a transmigrator shock. At the same time on the Qinli shuttle, Li Qingping felt a little bored, and then came to the deck and looked outside. Xiao Qing, how long does it take to reach the capital? Miss, we have just returned to Black Wind Ridge. There are still about 5 days before we can return to the capital. Xiao Qing, who was standing next to Li Qingping, said quickly. 5 days. Mr. Lu has been in seclusion for so long. I don't even know when he will come out. Looking at the retreat room on the ship, Li Qingping sighed and said. When he first entered Qinli Shuo, Lu Juyuan said that he felt the opportunity for a breakthrough, and then he entered the retreat room and began to retreat. He had been in retreat for 5 days and still hadn't seen any movement. Also watching the scenery on the deck was the Thousand Ghost King. A rare smile appeared on the Thousand Ghost King's face at this time, and he looked at the destroyed Yumaman in the distance. He had already felt that the trace of the slave mark imposed on him by the Demon King had disappeared, and this also meant that he no longer had to be restrained by the Demon King. Also on the deck was Long Aotian. At this time, Long Aotian was sleeping in the small nest arranged for him by Li Qingping, and his body was already exuding a hint of gold core cultivation. Long Aotian refined some dragon blood in the Lu family, and his cultivation level broke through to the gold core stage. After the breakthrough, he was a little surprised to feel that the owner of the drop of dragon blood had a cultivation level as high as Transcending tribulation stage. And this means that this drop of dragon blood is enough for Long Aotian to break through to at least the soul formation stage. So even though Long Aotian seemed to be sleeping at this time, Long Aotian was actually refining the dragon blood in his body, and his cultivation level was slowly improving. Rumbling, in the retreat room at this time, Lu Juyuan's body kept hearing a roaring sound, and this was the movement caused by the continuous solidification of Dao Foundation in his body. Finally, as the solidification of Dao Foundation reached a higher level, Lu Juyuan's cultivation was finally stabilized in the middle stage of foundation construction. I broke through to the middle stage of foundation building in just over a month. I don't know if this speed is considered a loss of Transmigrator's face. Opening his eyes, it seemed that there was another world in his pupils. Lu Juyuan clenched his fist and indicated his realm, then stood up and pushed open the door of the retreat room. Creak. Master Lu, have you successfully broken through to the middle stage of foundation building? After Li Qingping heard the news, she looked at Lu Juyuan with a smile that couldn't be concealed on her face. Well, after all, we will soon participate in the 100 Kingdoms competition. It is necessary to have stronger cultivation base. Lu Juyuan said seriously, although he didn't know who was participating in the 100 Kingdoms competition, but being strong in cultivation was still very beneficial to him. Hey, Aotian, wake up. Lu Juyuan then looked at Long Aotian, who was sleeping on his side, and waved a burst of spiritual energy to wake Long Aotian from his sleep. Long Aotian was awakened with a trace of annoyance on his face. Oh, what are you doing, Master? It's okay, I just made sure you are still alive. Okay, let's continue practicing. Lu Juyuan said with a serious face. His expression made Long Aotian almost believe it, but he also thought that Lu Juyuan and himself had signed a contract of heaven. How could he not know whether he was dead or alive? But there is no way, even though he is his master, he can only pamper him. Seeing Long Aotian fall into deep sleep again with an angry look on his face, Li Qingping couldn't help but cover her mouth and burst into laughter. Juyuan, how are you? You slept well. Is it bad? I just want to tell it not to sleep for too long, it is not good for the body. Lu Juyuan said with some surprise, but his expression was a little joyful, which made people couldn't help but laugh. Okay, where is this place? How long will it take? Cultivation lasted no time, and Lu Juyuan didn't know how long he had been practicing in seclusion. This is Black Wind Ridge, a world of monsters. Humans rarely enter, but the strongest monsters are only those in the nascent soul stage, so don't worry. Li Qingping said proudly that her 1,000-mile shuttle was a genuine high-grade flying treasure. Li Xuanren personally gave it to her on her 18th birthday. It is enough to resist the ferocious beasts in the soul formation stage, so naturally those in the nascent soul stage are not a concern. Lu Juyuan nodded, but the Thousand Ghost King on the side felt something and couldn't help but shake his head. Although it can resist the evil beasts of the soul formation stage, what if it is in the void refining stage? In the void refining stage. That's definitely unstoppable. Li Qingping said it without thinking, but she didn't react until she said it, and her face looked a little ugly. Senior, do you mean that a ferocious beast in the void refining stage is approaching? Well, let me take care of it. The Thousand Ghost King shook his head. His technique was mainly to absorb the enemy's blood to quickly improve his cultivation. However, he was banned by Lu Juyuan after he was subdued by Lu Juyuan. But now that he is absorbing the blood of a vicious beast, Lu Juyuan probably won't say anything. Quick victory, come back quickly. Lu Juyuan naturally knew what the Thousand Ghost King was thinking, so he said calmly that he had no objection to the Thousand Ghost King absorbing blood energy, but he just wanted to see what kind of blood Qian Ghost King was absorbing. Yes, young master. After saying this, the Thousand Ghost King jumped off the deck and quickly disappeared in front of Li Qingping and others. Jia, I have returned to the Transcending Tribulation stage in such a short period of time. If I swallow a little more blood, I will probably be able to return to the Transcending Tribulation stage soon. Not far from Qinlisuo, a four-legged beast with wings on its back followed. After feeling something, the four-legged beast's breathing became rapid. It's a real dragon, and there is a real dragon nearby. After saying that, the four-legged beast saw Qinlisuo flashing past in the distance, and a trace of greed flashed in his eyes. As long as I can swallow a real dragon, I will be confident enough to quickly return to the Dao integration stage. I guess you are out of luck. Jia. After saying that, the four-legged beast flapped its wings and rushed towards Qinlisuo at a terrifying speed. However, when it was about to destroy Qinlisuo, it saw a black figure appear in front of it. Quadruped. Before the four-legged beast could react, it was directly grabbed by the neck by the Thousand Ghost King who appeared. What? This person is a Transcending Tribulation stage monk, or a demonic cultivator. The four-legged beast's face was full of expressions of disbelief. As the Transcending Tribulation stage monster king, he could naturally feel the aura of the Transcending Tribulation stage. In his perception, the Thousand Ghost King's cultivation was stronger than his own. Much more. Senior, please forgive me, I'm just passing by. The four-legged beast said angrily, but what he got in return was the look of the Thousand Ghost King looking at a fool. Do you think I believe it? Just go on your way. After the Thousand Ghost King said this, a terrifying suction force erupted from his hand, absorbing all the blood and energy from the four-legged beast. The four-legged beast that had just recovered some strength in the middle of Transcending Tribulation was naturally unable to escape from the hands of the Thousand Ghost King. I hate it. The four-legged beast said angrily, but was quickly killed by the Thousand Ghost King. After killing the four-legged beast, the Thousand Ghost King's brows couldn't help but frown. He can absorb not only the opponent's blood, but also the opponent's memory, and this is why the Thousand Ghost King can break through to the Transcending Tribulation stage in just 10,000 years. There was no hesitation, and soon the Thousand Ghost King returned to the 1,000 Miles shuttle. Is everything settled? Lu Juyuan asked calmly, but the expression on Thousand Ghost King's face told Lu Juyuan that things were not that simple. Well, we have solved them all, but the opponent is an early-stage Transcending Tribulation monster that took its body and rebuilt it. Thousand Ghost King told Lu Juyuan all the information he got from the other party's memory. In such a small place, there is actually a monster king from the Transcending Tribulation stage. And he was stabbed to death in the back by his own brother. Lu Juyuan said with some surprise, having learned this from the Thousand Ghost King. At his peak, the opponent was a sky-swallowing python that had just broken through to the early stage of Transcending Tribulation, but was attacked by his brother because he wanted to get the sky-swallowing bloodline in his body to purify his own bloodline and strengthen his strength. He just didn't expect that his younger brother would choose to give up his body without hesitation, and nascent soul would leave the territory with the Tianyang bloodline. After a lot of tossing and turning, I came here. It's just that this Tianyang bloodline is of no use to Aoshan, so let's keep it for now. Lu Juyuan looked at the Swallowing Heaven bloodline that Thousand Ghost King took from the four-legged beast and shook his head and said, although the Swallowing Heaven bloodline is powerful, it is nothing compared to the true dragon bloodline. The reason why the sky-swallowing python turned into a four-legged beast was that his nascent soul was about to dissipate at that time, so he chose a four-legged beast with greater potential in order to survive. But at this moment, Li Qingping looked straight at the swallowing blood in Lu Juyuan's hand, with a hint of desire in her eyes. What's wrong? Lu Juyuan naturally noticed it and asked with some surprise. Juyuan, can you sell me the Yantian bloodline? I'm willing to pay a big price to buy it. Li Qingping took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. A big price. It doesn't matter. We are friends after all. You can just give me the money. Lu Juyuan shook his head and said, he wouldn't have any use for the Tianyang bloodline anyway. If that's the case, then let's go with the market price. The price of a piece of Tianyang bloodline source is basically around 100 million top-quality spiritual stones, but the source in your hand is somewhat missing, so I'll offer 50 million here. How about the best spiritual stone? Li Qingping said seriously. The price made Lu Juyuan feel a little stunned, and then he looked at the source in his hand dully. Even he himself didn't expect that a mere piece of top-quality spiritual stone with an original value could be worth as much as 100 million. Without hesitation, Lu Juyuan directly handed over the Tianyang bloodline to Li Qingping. You can just give it to me when the time comes. Lu Juyuan said openly that he was not short of spiritual stones anyway. Well, don't worry, I will give it to you as soon as possible. Li Qingping took a deep breath and then looked at Lu Juyuan. Thank you, Juyuan, you are really a good person. Hey, good people, don't talk nonsense. There is a huge taboo in this. After hearing what Li Qingping said, Lu Juyuan quickly said, are you kidding me? Are you going to give yourself a good guy card now? Although Li Qingping was a little surprised why Lu Juyuan wouldn't let her say that he was a good person, the first priority was to tell her father that he had found the Tianyang bloodline. At the same time, Li Xuanren, who was handling government affairs in the capital, quickly noticed the message Li Qingping sent him, and opened it curiously. Father, I have found the swallowing bloodline here, and the problem of the sacred beasts in the country will soon be solved. Hearing this, Li Xuanren couldn't calm down for a moment. Are you sure? Immediately, I received all the news informed by Li Qingping. Without hesitation, Li Xuanren hurriedly came to the depths of the royal family. This place was called the Forbidden Area of Yuan Kingdom, and even members of the royal family were not allowed to enter easily. Soon, Li Xuanren came to the depths of the Forbidden Land, but no one thought that there was a deep pond located deep in the Forbidden Land. Before arriving at the deep pond, I saw a burst of pale white gas filling the water surface of the deep pond. Sky-swallowing python, come out and talk. As Li Xuanren's words fell, the originally calm lake surface soon began to shake, and the pool water became choppy. And amidst the turbulent waves, a huge figure appeared on the pond. At first glance, it was a sky-swallowing python. King Li, why are you calling me? The sky-swallowing python spoke human words, and was filled with supreme divine power. It looked at Li Xuanren and said calmly, there is news about the swallowing bloodline. Li Xuanren told the news about the sky-swallowing bloodline. As his words fell, the huge sky-swallowing python was not calm for a moment. Is what you said true? Of course, how could I deceive you? Li Xuanren said with a smile. Unexpectedly, when he said this, the sky-swallowing python snorted coldly and said with some dissatisfaction. If I hadn't been deceived by your sweet words, how could I have agreed to become the sacred beast of your Yuan kingdom? As the sky-swallowing python finished speaking, Li Xuanren touched his nose with some embarrassment. Indeed, at the beginning, he took a fancy to the bloodline potential of the sky-swallowing python, and tricked the sky-swallowing ancestor in front of him into becoming the national beast of the Yuan kingdom. Although the sky-swallowing python has the word python, its room for improvement is only slightly less than that of a real dragon. It can even break through to the immortal king realm and can swallow the world and the world in one mouthful, so it is known as the sky-swallowing python. Didn't you get a lot of benefits now? And I also found the Tianyang bloodline for you. If your bloodline is purified again, you will probably be able to break through to the Mahayana stage. Changing the topic, Li Xuanren said quickly, while the sky-swallowing python said, yes, if the bloodline of this deity is purified again, I should be able to break through to the Mahayana realm, and I can also break through to more than just the Mahayana realm. After speaking, the sky-swallowing python burst out with an aura of peak transcending tribulation, and Li Xuanren just shook his head. If that's the case, then you should be well prepared. It will probably take a few days to get the Tianyang bloodline. After hearing what Li Xuanren said, Patriarch Tuntian was not in a hurry and dived directly into the cold pool. Wait until you get the bloodline and then call me. After the ancestor Tuntian left, Li Xuanren quickly returned to the palace, but his cultivation level was unknown when he broke through to the Mahayana stage, but he did not show it, and he did not know what he was planning. 50 million of the best spiritual stones. Even my country, Yuan Kingdom, would have a hard time getting it out. But if we can add another Mahayana stage national sacred beast, we can still get this little spiritual stone. Li Xuanren shook his head and thought to himself. Of course he knew the transaction price of Li Qingping's side, and immediately ordered people to prepare the spirit stones. After all, the ancestor of the Lu family was a high-level Mahayana, and he could not afford to offend him. On the other side, Lu Juyuan handed over the origin of the swallowing bloodline to Li Qingping, and then returned to the retreat room and began to retreat. Looking at the extremely violent Tianyang bloodline source in her hand, Li Qingping didn't know what she thought of. Her face suddenly turned red with embarrassment, and she was still giggling. Miss, is she in love? Zhao King shook her head helplessly after seeing this scene, but she didn't think about objecting. How could a maid of hers, a talented and beautiful woman, object to her in her turn? On the other side, Lu Juyuan began to attack the late stage of foundation building. His foundation was extremely stable. He had already broken through to the foundation building stage before Transmigrate came over, so the obstacles to breaking through this time were not too big. As time went by, Qian Lisuo soon arrived at the capital of Yuan Kingdom. At this time, Lu Juyuan finally successfully broke through to the late stage of foundation building. Just when Li Qingping arrived at the retreat room and planned to inform Lu Juyuan that the spacecraft had arrived in the capital, the door happened to open. Qingping, what's the matter? Lu Juyuan asked curiously, while Li Qingping said quickly, we have arrived at the capital. After hearing this, Lu Juyuan quickly came to the deck and saw the situation outside. It can be seen that the prosperity of the entire capital is far higher than that of Qingfeng Town. There are only 5 gold core statues in Qingfeng Town, but in the capital, they are everywhere, and even nascent soul statues are extremely common. Seeing Qian Lisuo flying directly into the capital, the monks lining up outside said angrily, why is it that the flying magic ship above can go in directly and we have to queue here? The soldier who heard this and inspected it sneered and said, do you know who the flying magic weapon above belongs to? Whose? The nascent soul stage monk asked with some uneasiness in his heart. He didn't know why, but he always felt a little uneasy. That's the 6th princess's spaceship. Hearing this, the nascent soul stage monk suddenly became a little panicked, but fortunately the other party did not argue with him, and he disappeared after paying the entry fee. Qian Lisuo returned to the capital very quickly, and everyone in the capital saw Qian Lisuo, and immediately knew that this was Li Qingping's return. Li Qingping and others collected Qin Lisuo when they were on top of the palace, and then slowly landed in front of the palace. Master Lu, welcome to the capital as a guest. Li Qingping looked at Lu Juyuan and smiled. Lu Juyuan was just a little shocked when he saw the capital. He quickly recovered. His background is invincible. This prosperity will definitely count in his eyes in the future. Not going up or anything. When they arrived at the gate of the National Palace, the 2 guards at the gate said respectfully after seeing Li Qingping, meet the 6th princess. The aura on his body clearly told Lu Juyuan that these 2 people were at least at the nascent soul stage. With the cultivation of the nascent soul stage, they could only be used as guards in the government. Well, no gifts. Li Qingping can only show an amiable attitude when facing her own people. In the eyes of outsiders, Li Qingping is an aloof and cold princess. Yes, immediately, under the leadership of Li Qingping, Lu Juyuan and others also successfully entered the palace, and in just the blink of an eye, Li Xuanren appeared in front of them. Long time no see, little friend Lu. When Li Xuanren appeared, he looked at Lu Juyuan and said kindly that he was only friendly to Lu Juyuan because of his background. But now, after Lu Juyuan found the origin of the Tianyang bloodline for himself and helped his daughter improve her qualifications to the heavenly level, he is even more satisfied with Lu Juyuan. Seeing that her father was the first to greet Lu Juyuan when he appeared, Li Qingping couldn't help but feel a little jealous, pouting and saying with dissatisfaction. Father, am I your daughter or is Lu Juyuan your daughter? Hey, that's wrong. Of course it belongs to you. Let's go. I've set up a banquet for you, which can be regarded as a blessing for you. Li Xuanren waved his hand and said with an unconcerned face. Then it's up to you, King Li. Lu Juyuan said in a neither humble nor arrogant tone, while the thousand ghost kings stood beside Lu Juyuan and did not say anything. And soon, Lu Juyuan and others followed Li Xuanren to the prepared banquet. At the same time, somewhere in the national government. Oh, my sixth sister is back. She hasn't been seen for a while. Let's go see her. Little friend Lu, this steamed nine-headed lion is quite a habit. At the dining table, Li Xuanren said with a smile, and then kept putting meat into Lu Juyuan's bowl. Li Qingping couldn't help but feel jealous when she saw this scene. Of course I'm used to it. This nine-headed lion is a powerful beast in the nascent soul stage. Eating it will also be of great benefit to me. Lu Juyuan also said seriously. As the meat of the nine-headed lion entered his body, the strength of his body also increased invisibly. By the way, I wonder where the origin of the Tianyang bloodline is. After having enough wine and food, Li Xuanren asked tentatively, while Lu Juyuan looked at Li Qingping. It has been handed over to Qingping for safekeeping. Li Xuanren then looked at Li Qingping, and Li Qingping also quickly took out the violent mass of Tianyang bloodline origin from the storage ring. It is true that the origin of the swallowing bloodline is terrifying. Here are all the spirit stones. Little friend Lu, please click on them. Li Xuanren knew it was true the first time he saw the source, and immediately handed over the top-quality spiritual stone storage ring containing 50 million to Lu Juyuan. That's not necessary. I still believe in King Li's character. Lu Juyuan smiled and immediately put the storage ring away. When Li Xuanren heard this, he was secretly happy but pretended to be angry. Hey, little friend Lu, don't you think of me as an outsider? You and my daughter are close friends. If that's the case, then I'll just rely on my status. Just call me Uncle Li. How about that? After hearing this, Lu Juyuan said with some embarrassment on his face. This is not good, Uncle Li. Hey, okay. Li Xuanren also said with some satisfaction after hearing this, no matter from every aspect, Lu Juyuan is definitely an excellent choice for his son-in-law. But at this time, Li Xuanren thought of something and said with a bit of embarrassment on his face. Little friend Lu, I heard that you seem to want to represent our Yuan kingdom in the 100 Kingdoms competition. When it came to business, Lu Juyuan's expression became serious and he put down the chopsticks in his hands. Yes, Uncle Li, do you have any suggestions? I can't say it's a high opinion. It's just that in the 100 Kingdoms competition, there are so many experts, so I'm afraid you won't get any benefits if you go there. Li Xuanren sighed and said, what he said was true, but Lu Juyuan just smiled and shook his head when he heard this. Uncle Li, I am the genius myself. If the genius doesn't fight against the genius, how can I know who is the real genius? Besides, I just want to go to the 100 Kingdoms competition to see what the strength of the great talents is. Lu Juyuan's tone was full of rebelliousness and domineering attitude. Even Li Xuanren was infected and almost agreed, but then he thought of Lu Juyuan's background. If Lu Juyuan was allowed to go, something would inevitably happen. He will be held accountable by Lu Changsheng. After all, the 100 Kingdoms competition is about life and death. Unless one party surrenders voluntarily, there will be no end in sight. The last time Yuanwu Kingdom was wiped out in the 100 Kingdoms competition, all 5 geniuses died in the ring. There is still something wrong with this matter. Little friend Lu, you should think about it again. Li Xuanren said euphemistically, and the implication was that Lu Juyuan should give up on his own initiative, but Lu Juyuan himself was going to the 100 Kingdoms competition, so it was naturally impossible for him to refuse. Uncle Li, just tell me. How can I agree to go to the 100 Kingdoms competition? There are no absolutes in the world. If there are, then they are not absolute enough. If you insist on going, how about I hold a competition in the capital in 7 days, and the top 5 people in the competition can represent our Yuanwu kingdom to go to the 100 Kingdoms competition. Li Xuanren said with a smile, and Lu Juyuan agreed without hesitation. Just kidding, I am in the late stage of foundation building now. Is it possible that I still can't get into the top 5? Plus 7 days, it is enough for me to break through to the peak of foundation building. Lu Juyuan, who has broken through to the peak of foundation establishment, is confident enough to defeat the peak of gold core. If he breaks out a little secret skill, he will not be unable to fight in the nascent soul stage. In that case, I have prepared a mansion here and will give it to Lu Xiaoyu as a residence for Lu Xiaoyu to visit in the capital these days. Li Xuanren said very generously, and was about to take Lu Juyuan to the mansion, but at this moment a voice came. Sixth sister, you didn't come to see me when you came back. This makes me, a brother, a little sad and depressed. As the words fell, a young man in green clothes soon walked in, and when the other party came in, Li Qingping said happily. Third brother, I miss you so much. After saying that, Li Qingping hugged the other party, while the young man in green shirt looked at Li Xuanren and bowed slightly. Meet my father. Well, get up, little friend Lu, let me introduce to you. This is my third son, Azure Emperor. Azure Emperor, this is Lu Juyuan and Lu Xiaoyu. Li Xuanren introduced enthusiastically, while Li Azure Emperor looked at Lu Juyuan with a smile. Since Lu fellow Taoist can be so valued by my father, there must be something special about him. My Excellency, Li Azure Emperor, it is a pleasure to meet you. Same. After speaking, Lu Juyuan stepped forward and shook hands with Emperor Li Azure. After a while, the two let go of their hands. Li Xuanren spoke at this time. Azure Emperor, little friend Lu will live in Qingshan Garden in the capital these days. I have given it to little friend Lu. So if you can during these days, you can take little friend Lu to visit the capital. Hearing Li Xuanren's words, Li Azure Emperor couldn't help but have a hint of surprise on his face. You must know that Qingshan Garden was kept by his father for his own residence, and he did not expect to give it to others. This also made him have a strong interest in Lu Juyuan. After Li Xuanren left with Li Qingping and Lu Juyuan, Li Azure Emperor stayed where he was and said calmly. Secret guard, go and find out the origin of this Lu Juyuan. Keep it hidden so that you don't get discovered. As Emperor Li Azure finished speaking, a figure appeared in the void beside him. Yes, young master. As the secret guard left, Emperor Li Azure shook his head helplessly. Lu Juyuan, I don't care who you are, you'd better be harmless to our country, Yuanwu. After saying that, a powerful aura of the void refining stage emerged from Li Azure Emperor's body. Is this Qingshan Garden? It is indeed magnificent. Looking at the luxurious scene in front of him, Lu Juyuan also said with some surprise, but he did not expect that Li Xuanren would actually give him such a luxurious villa, so he might as well give him a little reward in return. That's natural. There is a top-level spiritual vein buried under this Qingshan Garden. Even the sixth-rate forces are flocking to it. Li Xuanren said proudly, and then looked at Li Qingping and said, but the look in his eyes did not directly tell Li Qingping to spend the night here. Qingping, are you going back with me or staying here? Father, I'd better go back. After all, I'm a little tired and want to take a rest. Li Qingping shook her head and said, then turned to look at Lu Juyuan. Juyuan, if that's the case, I'll come see you again tomorrow. Well, see you tomorrow. Naturally, Lu Juyuan would not force it. Although he also had desires, now was not the time to vent. Young friend Lu, have a good rest. Li Xuanren said goodbye with a smile, and then waved and took Li Qingping away from Qingshan Garden, leaving only Lu Juyuan and the Thousand Ghost King here. Li Xuanren was naturally considerate in his work. He had already prepared dozens of slaves for Lu Juyuan in Qingshan Garden to take care of Lu Juyuan's daily life in the capital. And soon a delicate-looking woman came to Lu Juyuan and bowed her knees and said respectfully, Master, I am Lin Jilling, the supervisor of Qingshan Garden. I will be responsible for all your needs in Qingshan Garden. If you have any needs, just tell me directly. Looking at Lin Jilling's bumpy figure in front of him, Lu Juyuan said with a hint of amusement on his face. Oh, all the demands. Seriously, how could Lin Jilling not hear the meaning in Lu Juyuan's tone? His face turned red involuntarily. If the head of the house needs it, the spirit will naturally satisfy the head of the house. And just when Lin Jilling thought Lu Juyuan would take action, Lu Juyuan smiled and shook his head. Okay, I'm a little tired too. Take me to my bedroom. I want to rest. I'll also arrange a bedroom for my guard. Yes, master. Lin Jilin was stunned for a moment, but quickly realized what he was doing, and immediately after giving an order, 2 women led the Thousand Ghost King down. This is the capital of the Yuanwu Kingdom, and the Thousand Ghost King is a powerful person in the middle stage of transcending tribulation. If anything happens, it only takes a moment to reach him, so Lu Juyuan does not intend to let the Thousand Ghost King follow him into the room, middle. During the 10 days of Qinli Suona, Lu Juyuan had been in a state of cultivation, so naturally he felt a little bored. Although practicing has a feeling similar to sleeping, it is not as good as real sleeping. This is why some powerful people choose to sleep instead of practicing all the time. In the main room, the decoration is particularly exquisite, and even the bed is made of 10,000-year-old star wood. Sleeping on it can help you calm down and restore your state of mind, which is of great benefit to monks in the Tao integration period. Master, do you have any other instructions? After bringing Lu Juyuan in, Lin Jilin closed her eyes and took a deep breath, preparing to face her next fate. Although she was a supervisor, she knew her identity. It would not be an exaggeration to say that she was the concubine arranged by Li Xuanren for Lu Juyuan. After all, given Lu Juyuan's status and background, he deserves 3 wives and 4 concubines. Hearing Lu Juyuan nodded, Lin Jilin immediately got ready and was about to take off his clothes when he heard Lu Juyuan say calmly, "Go down and take care of everything in Qingshan Garden. I have to go out tomorrow." Lin Jilin, I've even taken off my pants and you're telling me this. What's wrong? Lu Juyuan asked curiously, while Lin Jilin said quickly, No, I wish my master a sweet dream. After saying that, Lin Jilin closed the door of Lu Juyuan's room and left as if running away. Seeing this scene, Lu Juyuan couldn't help but laugh. How could he not know Lin Jilin's thoughts? It is no exaggeration to say that as a transmigrator, it is impossible for him not to be lustful, but he has a target that is more beautiful than Lin Jilin, and that is Li Qingping. Before taking down Li Qingping, you should put Lin Jilin aside for a while, at least you won't miss it. After Lin Jilin left, Lu Juyuan lay on the 10,000 years star tree with a look of enjoyment on his face, and immediately felt as if his soul was being massaged. As expected of the 10,000 years of stars and woods, it's just enjoyment. Lin Jilin on the other side couldn't help but stop after escaping outside, and couldn't help but laugh when he thought of something. This head of the family is really interesting. After saying that, Lin Jilin smiled and shook his head, and then went down to deal with the matters in Qingshan Garden. On the other side, Thousand Ghost King was arranged in the room, but he did not choose to rest, but chose to practice. After all, under Lu Chengsheng's guidance that day, he was already very close to breaking through to the late stage. It would take a little more time to break through to the late stage. But at this moment, the Thousand Ghost King seemed to feel something. He opened his eyes and looked somewhere, but quickly closed his eyes. He sensed that many spies appeared outside Qingshan Garden, but there was no hostility. Otherwise, he would have killed all the spies immediately. Now that he has the Lu family as his backer, he naturally doesn't have to worry so much when doing things. And as Li Xuanren gave away Qingshan Garden, many big families in the capital received the news and couldn't help but guess what kind of big shot Li Xuanren could give away Qingshan Garden. Immediately, many spies were arranged to lurk outside Qingshan Garden, wanting to know who the big shots in Qingshan Garden were. If they could find out and establish a good relationship with them, it might be a good opportunity. Guofu is not the only one in Yuanwu Kingdom. There are also many families that rely on Yuanwu Kingdom to survive, and there are also many strong people in these families, and the stronger ones even have strong people in the Transcending Tribulation stage. The Li family of Yuanwu Kingdom. Oh, it's interesting. Li Xuanren actually sent Qingshan Garden away. I'm afraid even Li Xuanren has to respect the other party's origins. Send an order to investigate who lives in Qingshan Garden. Guo family, investigate for me the origin of that person and please him. I want to get news about him in the shortest possible time. If I get his help, I might be able to replace the Li family's position. At the same time, there are many families who hold this idea, and the situation in the entire Yuanwu Kingdom has also become undercurrents with the arrival of Lu Juyuan, but Lu Juyuan doesn't know it yet, and he is lying on the bed extremely comfortable, he even turned over. It's interesting. I can't find his origin. He is indeed a distinguished guest that even my father should respect. After a night of investigation on the Azure Emperor's side, Li Azure Emperor found no news about Lu Juyuan in any major town, but he never thought that Lu Juyuan was from a small town. Lu Juyuan's origins were not investigated, which did not lessen Emperor Li Azure's fear of him. On the contrary, it only made it worse. At this time, the sky was gradually breaking, and then he thought that Li Xuanren asked him to take Lu Juyuan to play in the capital today, and then Li Azure Emperor stood up. Lu Juyuan, I want to see who you are. On the other side, Lu Juyuan slept on the 10,000 years star tree all night, and his overall condition had reached its best at this time, and even his own cultivation had vaguely improved. According to this trend, we should be able to hit the gold core stage before heading to the 100 Kingdoms competition. If we break through to the gold core stage, we might be able to get a better ranking. Lu Juyuan thought to himself, but at this time, Lin Jilling was already greeting him softly outside the door. Master, it's time to have dinner. Well, I understand. Lu Juyuan stood up immediately after hearing the words. Although cultivation is extremely important, a strong person can become immortal if he cultivates to such a high level that he doesn't even need to eat. But if he doesn't eat, is there any similarity with human beings? Thinking of this, Lu Juyuan quickly put on his clothes, then opened the door and saw Lin Jilling outside. Lin Jilling's face immediately turned red when he saw Lu Juyuan, while Lu Juyuan was a little curious. You blushed like a teapot, but I didn't do anything. But Lu Juyuan still said calmly, come on, take me to dinner. Lin Jilling finally realized that when Lu Juyuan arrived at the dining table, the Thousand Ghost King had been waiting here for a long time. Looking at the food on the table, Lu Juyuan couldn't help but shake his head. It's really evil capitalism, but he likes it. While eating, an inappropriate sound came from outside the door. Hey, it seems I came at the wrong time, Brother Lu. Lu Juyuan raised his head and looked. Who else could it be if it wasn't Li Azure Emperor, and then smiled. No, Brother Li, you came at the right time. Let's have a meal together. Since Brother Lu invited you, then I'd better obey him respectfully. Emperor Li Azure also looked very familiar, and he immediately picked up the bowls and chopsticks and sat down. However, before the two of them started eating, another voice came. Juyuan, here I come. Who else could it be if it wasn't Li Qingping? But when Li Qingping walked in, she happened to see Li Azure Emperor, and the smile on her face suddenly froze. Brother, what a coincidence, why are you here too? Li Qingping pouted and said with some dissatisfaction, it's really disgusting that her brother actually came one step earlier than her. It seems that it will be earlier next time. Why can't I be here? Isn't this a meal? It makes sense for me to come and have a meal. Li Azure Emperor said seriously. If he didn't know what kind of person his third brother was, I'm afraid Li Qingping would really believe it. Li Qingping was thinking about what to say when Lu Juyuan interrupted her. Okay, now that we're all here, let's eat together. Li Qingping then chose to sit down next to Lu Juyuan, and Li Azure Emperor also started eating without hesitation, and then spoke. Brother Lu, since you have come to the capital, let me show my kindness as a landlord and take you to have fun in the capital. Since Brother Li warmly invited you, I naturally cannot refuse. Thank you for your service, Brother Li. Lu Juyuan smiled and agreed. Anyway, he didn't think about practicing in the past few days. It was okay to take a few days to play. I'm going to go too. Li Qingping raised her hand and said. Lu Juyuan and Li Azure Emperor were naturally not surprised, and immediately agreed to take Li Qingping with them. Just when eating, Li Azure Emperor's eyes always glanced at the Thousand Ghost King. He didn't know why he could feel a terrible threat from the Thousand Ghost King, but if he looked carefully, he felt that the Thousand Ghost King was a mortal is like a mortal, with no cultivation at all. After having enough wine and food, Li Azure Emperor took Lu Juyuan and others straight to the capital. As expected of the capital, such prosperity is rare. Lu Juyuan looked at the streets with people coming and going and said sincerely, while Li Azure Emperor took the opportunity to ask curiously. Oh, Brother Lu's hometown is probably not much less prosperous than our capital. How could it be rare? He just wanted to take the opportunity to find out the bottom of Lu Juyuan. Although Lu Juyuan was not deeply involved in the world, he could still know the intention of Emperor Li Azure, so he smiled and said. To be honest, my family is a reclusive family with little exposure to the world, so I rarely see such prosperity. I see, Li Azure Emperor suddenly realized, and at the same time he was a little surprised. The hidden family refers to a family that disappears from the eyes of the public. It seldom communicates with the outside world, so it is understandable that he cannot investigate Lu Juyuan's background. But having said that, is there anything interesting in this capital? Lu Juyuan asked curiously at this time. Although it was a bit fun, it was nothing more than that in Lu Juyuan's eyes. Hearing this, Li Azure Emperor began to think deeply, and then spoke after a moment. If Brother Lu wants it, I have a good place to recommend. Oh, where? Lu Juyuan asked curiously, while Li Azure Emperor said seriously. Tianyang Coliseum, Li Qingping said in shock before Lu Juyuan opened his mouth. Brother, did you make a mistake by taking someone to the Coliseum for the first time? Anyway, there really aren't many places to play in the capital. This Tianyang Coliseum can be considered a place to play. Lu Juyuan also became curious after hearing about the Coliseum. What kind of existence is this Tianyang Coliseum? Following Lu Juyuan's question, Li Azure Emperor smiled and said, the so-called Tianyang Coliseum, as the name suggests, is a place where beasts are fought. Customers can place bets on the victory. It can be regarded as gambling. As long as your eyesight is strong enough, it is not impossible to make a small fortune. Oh, I see. If that's the case, there's nowhere to go anyway. It's not that we can't go and see the Tianyang Coliseum. But, does this Tianyang Coliseum belong to your Li family? Lu Juyuan agreed, but asked curiously. Li Azure Emperor Li Qingping shook her head before she spoke. No, although our Li family is king in Yuanwu Kingdom, there are still many families in Yuanwu Kingdom, including old monsters from the Transcending tribulation stage, and the Tianyang Coliseum is an asset of the Chen family. Quote, although she is a little princess, Li Qingping is not a simple-minded person. She has already investigated the current situation of Yuanwu Kingdom a long time ago. Lu Juyuan also nodded after hearing this. Isn't this an existence similar to the dynasty in the previous life? Although the royal family is the dominant one, there are also existences similar to aristocratic families. Since Brother Lu wants to go have fun, then Brother Lu's consumption today will be charged to my account. Li Azure Emperor smiled, and upon hearing this, Lu Juyuan also bowed slightly. If that's the case, then I have to help Brother Li. Seeing the two of them walking towards the Tianyang Coliseum, Li Qingping just sighed and followed immediately. In fact, she quite hated this kind of place. At the gate outside the Tianyang Coliseum, there are two nascent soul stage monsters tied up to watch the gate, and behind these two monsters there is a gatekeeper of the soul formation stage. Tianyang Coliseum is one of the main assets of the Chen family, so the Chen family has naturally arranged a lot of powerful people in it. When Lu Juyuan and others came here, they saw people coming and going at the entrance of Tianyang Coliseum. After all, it was the largest coliseum in the capital, so it was inevitable that some people would come here to have some fun. Let's go in and have a look. After Li Azure Emperor said that, he was about to take Lu Juyuan directly in, but at this time, a strange voice came from the side. Hey, isn't this the third prince? Why does the third prince have so much time to come to a place like this? Li Azure Emperor couldn't help but frown when he heard this voice, and Li Qingping said bluntly. Why, Miss Shui can come here, but we can't come. At this time, Lu Juyuan turned around and saw a coquettish-looking person of unknown gender appearing behind them. Obviously, the previous words were uttered by the other party. At this time, after Li Qingping finished speaking, she leaned into Lu Juyuan's ear and explained. This person is the second son of the Shui family, Shui Chenyang. But I don't know why this Shui Chenyang is a bit effeminate. In addition, he doesn't deal with our Li family, so his relationship with us is not good. After hearing the explanation, Lu Juyuan suddenly realized that he was actually a transvestite. Thinking of this, Lu Juyuan said with some disdain. Brother Li, I didn't expect to see such strange things in your country. They are neither humans nor ghosts. They say they are men but they don't look like men. They say they are women, but they are in an airport. As Lu Juyuan finished speaking, Shui Chenyang's face turned angry. Boy, who are you? I don't seem to have seen you in the royal family. Although he was very angry, Shui Chenyang still had some sense of propriety. Being treated like this by Emperor Li Azure, I am afraid it would not be easy. Now is not a good time to make enemies for the Shui family. It's none of your business who I am. On the other hand, you are not a ghost or a ghost. I'm afraid the family behind you is also a similar person. Lu Juyuan said with disdain, and at this time, the Thousand Ghost King was standing next to Lu Juyuan. This was Lu Juyuan's arrogance. As long as the other party dared to take action, the Thousand Ghost King would directly kill him. Of course, if Lu Juyuan scolded him, Lu Juyuan would also ask the Thousand Ghost King to kill him. Boy, you are so arrogant. I just hope you can continue to be arrogant. Shui Chenyang said angrily, but before he found out the details of Lu Juyuan, he still chose to endure it. And just when Shui Chenyang was about to enter the Tianyang Coliseum directly, Lu Juyuan said lightly, "Rotten ass." After hearing this, Shui Chenyang paused for a moment, and then said with a cold face, "Boy, you'd better stop it." It can be heard from the tone that Shui Chenyang's anger has reached the limit at this time, and when Li Qingping on the side was thinking about saying something, she was stopped by Li Azure Emperor's look, and then thought of Lu Juyuan's background. Li Qingping could only watch. "I just said you were a piece of shit, what's wrong?" Lu Juyuan said expressionlessly, while Shui Chenyang was not angry but smiling instead. Okay, you have to say that, right? Mr. Shui, please teach him a lesson." There was no need to bear it any longer. At this time, Shui Chenyang decided not to bear it any longer. After all, it was Lu Juyuan who insulted him first. Even if the Li family held him accountable afterwards, he had nothing to say. As Shui Chenyang's words fell, a black mist appeared next to Shui Chenyang, and then attacked Lu Juyuan, who was the elder who the Shui family arranged to protect Shui Chenyang. After all, Shui Chenyang is the second son, so it is reasonable to protect him. When Mr. Shui appeared, Emperor Li Azure frowned slightly. He was actually an elder in the early stage of integration. Has the strength of the Shui family actually reached this level? The elders sent to protect Shui Chenyang have all reached the integration stage. But at this time, Li Azure Emperor did not panic, because he knew that Lu Juyuan should have countermeasures to deal with it. Mr. Shui on the other side had also arrived in front of Lu Juyuan and was talking coldly. "Boy, keep your mouth cleaner in the next life." Obviously, Lu Juyuan couldn't accept what he said when he insulted Shui Chenyang. Insulting Shui Chenyang like this was a naked attack on the Shui family. At this time, Lu Juyuan was not panicked at all. The calm expression on his face made Mr. Shui a little uneasy. Did this kid have something to rely on, or was he ignorant? But now that everyone has taken action, there is only one way to go. And just when Mr. Shui was about to destroy Lu Juyuan, the Thousand Ghost King finally took action. When Mr. Shui reacted, he saw the Thousand Ghost King already appearing in front of him. What? Mr. Shui was stunned for a moment when he saw this scene, but when he wanted to react, he was directly grabbed by the neck by the Thousand Ghost King. Remember in the next life not to attack others casually. The Thousand Ghost King said coldly, and was immediately sucked dry by the Thousand Ghost King, but there was no breakthrough in his cultivation. A monk in the early stage of integration is undoubtedly as good as a drop of water in the ocean to the Thousand Ghost King. At this time, the smile on Shui Chenyang's face was still there, but it became a little stiff, and his expression changed after he realized what he was doing. Obviously, he had also recognized the Thousand Ghost King at this time. Emperor Li Azure, your royal family dares to hide Demon Dao monks, are you going to become a Demon Dao force? Hearing this, Li Azure Emperor looked at him with an idiotic expression. Are you stupid? I didn't say he was from our royal family. How did you tell that he was from our royal family? After hearing this, Shui Chenyang thought that he had misunderstood the relationship between Lu Juyuan and the royal family from the beginning, but the most important thing right now was to survive. After all, judging from the current situation, it was absolutely impossible for him to escape. Li Azure Emperor, please tell him to stop quickly. If I die here, the Shui family will never give up. Shui Chenyang said angrily, but Emperor Li Azure wished that Shui Chenyang would die, so how could he speak? And judging from the current situation, Lu Juyuan's background was far more terrifying than he imagined. Because some time ago, he also received the news that the Yumo sect was destroyed, but now the Thousand Ghost King, who is the mainstay of the Yumo sect, has become Lu Juyuan's bodyguard. This is enough to show that Lu Juyuan is closely related to the forces that destroyed the Yumo sect, wisps of connection. Moreover, Lu Juyuan's status among that force is probably not low, otherwise, Thousand Ghost King would not have been assigned to Lu Juyuan as his bodyguard. Thinking of this, Li Azure Emperor sighed and said, Miss Shui, it's not that I don't want to talk about this, it's just that this is Brother Lu's matter, I don't want to interfere. The implication is that Lu Juyuan made the final decision on this matter. Even if Shui Chenyang died here, it had nothing to do with their royal family. Upon hearing this, Shui Chenyang turned to look at Lu Juyuan, who was smiling on his side, and quickly begged for mercy. Fellow Taoist, I surrender. I am willing to make compensation for this matter, as long as you, fellow Taoist, are willing to spare my life. Before life and death, Shui Chenyang didn't care about face anymore, even if he returned to Shui's house, he would be punished a lot. Oh, are you scared now? What were you doing earlier? Lu Juyuan sighed and said. Shui Chenyang thought it was a joke when he saw this. When he was about to say something, Lu Juyuan said lightly. It's okay, I don't care, just be more careful in the next life. As Lu Juyuan finished speaking, the Thousand Ghost King immediately took off his strings after receiving the order. Shui Chenyang was about to say something, but was directly absorbed by the Thousand Ghost King. After all, mosquito legs are also meat, so a little adds up. Li Azure Emperor couldn't help but frown when he saw this scene. This Lu Juyuan was clean and decisive in killing. After dealing with Shui Chenyang's matter, Lu Juyuan turned to look at Li Azure Emperor and smiled. Brother Li, I have completed your test. Let's go in and have some fun. After saying that, Lu Juyuan walked in directly, but the Soul Formation stage guard at the door did not dare to say anything at this time and could only let Lu Juyuan go in directly. After all, even the monks in the Tao integration stage were directly wiped out by the King of Thousand Ghosts. Do you want to go up to the Soul Formation stage to deliver food? In addition, Demon Tao monks are notoriously irritable, and it will be really tragic if they disagree with each other. Hearing Lu Juyuan's words, Li Azure Emperor suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Did Lu Juyuan actually see this? But judging from the current situation, Lu Juyuan probably didn't take it to heart. Li Azure Emperor felt a lot more relieved. He turned to look at Li Qingping and said with a complicated expression. This Lu Juyuan is far more unfathomable than we imagined. I agree to the matter between you and him. After saying that, Li Azure Emperor followed him, but Li Qingping didn't understand what Li Azure Emperor said. When she reacted, her face turned red, but she didn't say anything more and chose to follow him. After all, Lu Juyuan was talented, handsome, and had a profound background. After getting a long day and night, it was impossible for Li Qingping not to have feelings for Lu Juyuan. Lu Juyuan inside just smiled. How could he not see that Li Azure Emperor wanted to take the opportunity to test his true identity? Otherwise, with Li Azure Emperor's royal background and just saying a few words, how could Shui Chenyang dare to take action? It's just that Lu Juyuan is not afraid of this kind of temptation. On the contrary, he is still looking forward to the Shui family becoming stronger. After all, his background may be stronger in this way. But if you think about it carefully, the Shui family probably won't be that powerful. Otherwise, the Li family wouldn't have the final say in Yuanwu Kingdom. Li Azure Emperor soon caught up with him. After Lu Juyuan knew about it, Li Azure Emperor naturally stopped hiding it and chose to speak out openly. I was offended by what happened before. I just want to know where Brother Lu is coming from. Naturally, Lu Juyuan wouldn't say anything more. Brother Li, if that's the case, then take me for a ride, as an apology. Emperor Li Azure was stunned for a moment when he heard this, but then he laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, since Brother Lu has warmly invited you, I will naturally accompany you to the end. Li Qingping, who arrived belatedly, saw that the two of them were intact and even had a much better relationship than before, so she was a little surprised. Didn't Lu Juyuan discover her brother's plan? Logically speaking, aren't the two of them in a cold war now? But that's fine, after all, it's better to have a good relationship than a bad relationship. The four of them just wandered around the Tianyang Coliseum. On the way, Li Azure Emperor also explained to Lu Juyuan how to play in the Tianyang Coliseum. You can buy monsters in the Tianyang Coliseum, and those with strong cultivation can even reach the void refining stage. In addition, there are naturally fighting beasts in the Coliseum. There are several fighting beasts in the Tianyang Coliseum. Participants can bring their own monsters or buy monsters in the Tianyang Coliseum. The beast competes. If you win in a row, you can get a bonus from the Tianyang Coliseum. The more games you win in a row, the more generous it will be. It is said that if you can win 10 games in a row, the bonus will be as high as tens of millions of top-quality spiritual stones, but no one has ever been able to reach it. 10 consecutive wins. Li Azure Emperor's expression became a little complicated when he talked about this. Obviously, the water here is very deep. How could Tianyang Coliseum let others take away tens of millions of top-quality spiritual stones? You must know that that is Tianyang Coliseum's entire year's income. Oh, what are the rules for fighting monsters? Lu Juyuan asked curiously. We can't let monsters from different realms fight against each other. It would be too unfair. Seemingly guessing what Lu Juyuan was thinking, Li Azure Emperor smiled and said, naturally, Tianyang Coliseum arranges for monsters of the same realm to compete, otherwise it will be said to be unfair. I see. If that's the case, then I'll buy a monster here and have a test. Lu Juyuan thought for a while, and found that the tens of millions of top-quality spiritual stones were still somewhat attractive to him, but if Long Aocean was allowed to go to heaven, it would be a bit too bullying, so Lu Juyuan decided to look for it in the Tianyang Coliseum. With his luck, is it possible that he still can't find a monster strong enough to win 10 consecutive victories? It's not good, it's still too weak. Lu Juyuan kept searching among the monsters, but none satisfied him. The staff of Tianyang Coliseum who followed them with apologetic smiles on their faces. He can't afford to mess with everyone here. Emperor Li Azure followed Lu Juyuan, giving Lu Juyuan some advice from time to time. After all, with his eyesight as a monk in the void refining stage, he could naturally see much more than Lu Juyuan. It's just that Lu Juyuan smiled and refused. Compared to Li Azure Emperor, he believed in his inner choice more. After all, his luck was so good, so it wouldn't be an outrageous thing to choose a good monster. Li Qingping just followed Lu Juyuan quietly without speaking. She believed that Lu Juyuan could make a good choice. After all, Lu Juyuan could lead her to find the glazed treasure liquid that countless others could not find. Is it possible that she still had to choose? Can't we find a better monster? One after another, the monsters passed in front of Lu Juyuan, but Lu Juyuan walked over without hesitation, just because he felt that the fate had not yet arrived. Just like this, Lu Juyuan spent half an hour in the monster area, but still couldn't choose a suitable monster. Even the staff following them were a little bored at this time. Could it be that these people are here to cause trouble? But at this moment, Lu Juyuan caught a glimpse of something, and Li Azure Emperor also looked over. He saw a little native dog lying in a corner, and he was even a little slovenly. The staff naturally saw it and quickly explained. This is just a little native dog that we caught while hunting in the Tiansheng Mountains. Although it is a small native dog, it has finally entered the qi refining period, so we caught it here. When they heard about the Tiansheng mountain range, Li Azure Emperor and others were also a little surprised. After all, the Tiansheng mountain range was a mountain range in the Yuanwu kingdom where monsters gathered, and the strongest monsters among them had even reached the fusion stage. But if you think about the strength of the Chen family, it's not so strange. And Li Azure Emperor also said with a smile at this time. Brother Lu, this is just a little local dog. Do you want to buy it? Well, then it's him. Lu Juyuan smiled, then waved his hand and chose to buy it. Hearing this, Emperor Li Azure couldn't sit still. Brother Lu, this is just a little local dog. If we let him go up, I'm afraid he won't be able to last even one round. Why don't you think about it again? After all, the monsters that can go up to the ring are extremely powerful, otherwise they wouldn't be sent up. And this native dog looks like it has just broken through to the qi refining stage. I'm afraid it will be dropped instantly if it goes up. No, it's just him. Lu Juyuan had made up his mind, because he felt that this native dog was his implicit choice, because he had seen a trace of disdain in the native dog's eyes before. Are you kidding me? A native dog can give out a look of disdain. So Lu Juyuan concluded that this little native dog probably has something inside it. Li Azure Emperor could only sigh and express respect. He only hoped that Brother Lu could have some strength, but this native dog looked like an authentic native dog no matter how he looked. The staff on the other side said excitedly after seeing Lu Juyuan finally place the order. Guest, I'll make arrangements for you here. Under the arrangements of the staff, the little native dog soon came into Lu Juyuan's arms. After all, it was only the qi refining period. Lu Juyuan had already established his foundation, so naturally there was no danger at all. When girls saw cute creatures, they naturally wanted to go up and touch them. Li Qingping came to Lu Juyuan with a smile on her face and stretched out her hand to touch the little native dog's head. What a cute little dog. Come, let me hug you. After saying that, Li Qingping directly hugged the little native dog into her arms, and the little native dog seemed to turn its head in Li Qingping's arms with a look of enjoyment, which made Li Qingping's expression even worse. Okay, go and arrange a duel between monsters and beasts for me. After buying the little native dog, Lu Juyuan turned to look at the staff and said. The staff was stunned for a moment, but then quickly continued. This guest, I wonder who the monster you are going to play is. Well, that's the one. Lu Juyuan turned to look at the little native dog in Li Qingping's arms and said, the staff naturally knew the strength of this little native dog. It was pitifully low, and then he said with a somewhat embarrassed expression. This guest, why don't you change it to another one? I'm afraid it won't be very good to go up there. The staff had already spoken very tactfully, but Lu Juyuan firmly let the little local dog go up. This was the guest's insistence, so he naturally couldn't refuse, and he quickly went down to register and get ready. After the staff left, Li Qingping came to Lu Juyuan with the little native dog in her arms and said worriedly. Are you sure you want to let the little fool go up? This guy seems to be very weak. After saying that, the little native dog in Li Qingping's arms also snorted twice, looking extremely humble, weak, and pitiful. Well, let him go up. The world is undecided. You and I are both dark horses. We may not know what kind of surprise this guy can bring us. Lu Juyuan smiled, then looked at the little native dog and said, but what they didn't notice was that a trace of anger flashed across the little native dog's face. After hiding for so long, is it about to be discovered? The little native dog secretly thought in his heart, although he looked like a little native dog on the surface, in fact he had a trace of white tiger blood in his body. If he showed his true strength, he would be an ordinary monster of the same realm. No beast can be its opponent. At the same time, in the Shui family, the head of the Shui family, Shui Changjiang, was sitting in the family hall with a gloomy face, and the rest of the Shui family elders were also staying here. Obviously, they already knew the news that Shui Chenyang had been killed. As a family that was only slightly weaker than the Li family, it was undoubtedly a provocation for them that the second young master was killed openly. Master, this matter cannot be tolerated. What is the difference between this and the defense above our Shui family? An elder who was at the peak of his integration stood up and said angrily. While some were in favor, others were against it. Master, I think this matter needs to be considered in the long run. You must know that the second young master is accompanied by elders in the fusion stage to protect him when traveling. In addition, it is said that Li Azure Emperor and Li Qingping of the Li family are also with him, which shows that his origin may be unusual, so I suggest you investigate first. Old Ghost Changjiang, I think you are just afraid. Our Shui family has been in Yuanwu Kingdom for so many years. Could it be that we have lost the spirit we once had? The elder who had previously proposed to kill Lu Juyuan snorted and said, while the elder Chong Zhenghe was talking about snorted and said. Tianlong, I just think about the overall situation of my Shui family. Shit, you're just scared. Elder Tianlong said with a cold snort, and at this time, Shui Changjiang finally couldn't bear it anymore. Shui Changjiang said with a gloomy face. As my beloved son, Chenyang, I, as a father, am also very sad when he dies, but I must not act on impulse at the moment. I will first investigate the origin of the other party clearly, and then decide how to deal with it. Having said that, Shui Changjiang exuded the domineering aura that belonged exclusively to the family leader, which was exactly the coercion in the later stages of transcending tribulation. Yes, master. As Shui Changjiang opened his mouth, they naturally did not dare to say anything and could only continue as they were told. Of course, Shui Chenyang's brother also received the news. The real genius of the Shui family, Shui Chenshin. My dear brother, why were you killed? Standing by the window, Shui Chenshin sighed, with a trace of disappointment on his face. Although he didn't care about this brother very much, he was his brother after all. He was killed, and he was also a share of the shame. Genius Shui Chen is the real genius of the Shui family, while Shui Chenyang is just a playboy. It took Shui Chenyang more than 100 years of cultivation to break through to the nascent soul stage, but he was different. He broke through to the void refinement stage at the age of only 200 years old, and was hailed as the Shui family's greatest hope. Forget it, since my father said he has his own arrangements, then I'll just wait and see. If that doesn't work, it's not impossible to wait until he becomes stronger before taking revenge. Just being called Tianzhao, Shui Chenshin's palace is naturally very rich, and he will not rush to seek revenge without enough assurance. Thinking of this, Shui Chenshin calmed down again and started practicing. It was not difficult to tell from the fluctuations in his aura that he was about to enter the middle stage of void refining. Grandmas, give it to me. I've put a whole year's income on you, give it to me. Red-blooded wolf, bite him. In the auditorium of Tianyang Coliseum, countless gamblers watched the battle on the Coliseum and roared at the top of their lungs. If there are fighting beasts, there will naturally be openings. Tianyang Coliseum is the largest bookmaker among them. On the other hand, the news about Lu Juyuan and others has also reached the ears of the people arranged by the Chen family at the Tianyang Coliseum. Since the people of the Li family want to play here, let's arrange it, give them some water, and then eliminate them when they win the 5th game in a row. Chen Kai is one of the top leaders of the Chen family, and he is the person arranged by the Chen family to manage the Tianyang Coliseum here, and his cultivation level is as high as the peak of integration. After receiving the news from Li Azure Emperor and others, Chen Kai quickly ordered the arrangements. After all his subordinates went down, Chen Kai thought with curiosity. What is the origin of the person Li Azure Emperor brought? He actually dared to directly kill Shui Chenyang. Aren't you afraid of the Shui family's revenge? But no matter what, I'm afraid the entire Yuanwu kingdom's pattern will change again. Quote, Shui Chenyang, as the second son of the Shui family, was blatantly killed. No matter what, the Shui family would never let it go. As the people from Tianyang Coliseum continued to operate, Lu Juyuan's little native dog soon arranged an opponent, a soft-bone rabbit in the qi refining stage. Although he was in the qi refining stage, he didn't have much strength. He was just much faster than the average rabbit. He was still killing indiscriminately in front of the little native dog. When he saw that his opponent was actually a rabbit, a look of disdain appeared on the little native dog's face, and this scene happened to be seen by Li Qingping and others. Look, it seems to be disdainful, Li Qingping said with a surprised look on his face, and Li Azure Emperor was also a little surprised. The monster beasts in the qi refining stage have not yet opened their spiritual intelligence. In other words, they may not even understand human words. How could they show disdain? The expression. Is there really something mysterious about it? Lu Juyuan, on the other hand, was even more certain that this little native dog was even more extraordinary. It's just a pity that Long Aotian said he was too lazy to come and stayed in Qingshan Garden to refine the dragon's blood. Otherwise, Long Aotian might have been able to see the mystery of this little native dog. Okay, the time is coming, let's get ready first. Lu Juyuan said first at this time, and then he picked up the little native dog and walked towards the preparation area. When he was about to enter, Lu Juyuan stopped, turned to look at Li Azure Emperor and asked. By the way, if my opponent's monster dies, can I buy it with spirit stones? Of course this is possible, we just have to see if the other party agrees. Li Azure Emperor was stunned for a moment, but quickly said, and then asked curiously. Brother Lu, why do you ask this? It's nothing. I heard that the meat of soft-bone rabbit is delicious. I just want to get a spicy rabbit head to eat. After saying that, Lu Juyuan went in with the little native dog in his arms, and Li Azure Emperor was about to go to the auditorium, but Li Qingping stopped him. What's wrong, brother? Go make a bet. After all, you have to give Juyuan some face. Li Qingping thought for a while and said, after all, those who come to watch the beast battle will basically press the market price. It makes sense for them to buy Lu Juyuan to win. Okay, Okay. Li Azure Emperor could also guess that the people at Tianyang Coliseum would give him some face and deliberately let Lu Juyuan win several games in a row, but this also meant that the odds of the previous games were probably not high. And during the rest time of each game, you can continue to place bets. Thinking of this, Li Azure Emperor took Li Qingping to the windowsill of the handicap opening. Seeing the huge crowd of people, he could only wait patiently. Soon it was their turn, and after looking at the odds of Lu Juyuan above, they were a little surprised, because the odds between Lu Juyuan and the opponent were 1-to-1, and this meant that even if they placed a bet, all you can do is get your money back. But anyway, just to give Lu Juyuan face, after thinking about it, Li Azure Emperor took out 10,000 high-grade spiritual stones. This number of spiritual stones was quite a lot for him. Li Qingping, on the other hand, took out 100,000 high-grade spirit stones because she only had this much pocket money for a month. When he was about to leave, Li Azure Emperor also noticed that there were actually several people who bet on Lu Juyuan to win, but it was a pity that the identity of the other party would not be announced, otherwise Li Azure Emperor would still be quite curious about who bet on Lu Juyuan to win. After placing their bets, Li Azure Emperor and Li Qingping walked towards the fighting arena where Lu Juyuan was arranged. Tianyang Coliseum naturally has more than one fighting arena. There are 10 fighting beasts in Tianyang Coliseum stages, each of which has a different audience. The beast fighting platform where Lu Juyuan was located was the beast fighting platform number 9. In the preparation area, Lu Juyuan saw many people comforting his monsters, including many of them at the gold core stage. Naturally, Lu Juyuan would not treat the little native dog badly. I saw Lu Juyuan saying seriously, "As long as you win for me, I will find 9 cute little fools for you when I go back." Hearing Lu Juyuan's words, the little local dog was speechless in his heart, and there was a trace of disdain in his eyes. Just kidding, how could I, a monster with white tiger blood, look down on an ordinary little fool? In Lu Juyuan's eyes, this kind of behavior was like a little country dog who agreed. But Lu Juyuan soon thought of something and said with a thoughtful expression on his face, "But it doesn't seem very good for a local dog to call you. I think I should give you a name." After saying that, Lu Juyuan began to think seriously. The name of the monster he bought must not be too unusual. It must show the domineering power of the little local dog. Thinking of this, Lu Juyuan quickly had a name in his mind. "In that case, how about I call you Xiao Huang, and then follow my last name and call you Lu Huang?" After all, the little native dog should be able to transform in the future, so it makes sense to give it a human name. Monsters can usually activate their spiritual intelligence during the foundation building stage. At this time, they can recognize and understand human speech, but they still cannot speak and can only communicate through their spiritual consciousness. If you want to speak human language, you need to break through to the gold core stage. The monster beast that breaks through to the gold core stage can speak human language, and when it breaks through to the nascent soul stage, the monster beast can transform into a human form. Hearing Xiao Huang's name, the little dog started struggling crazily. I don't want such an unpleasant name, it sounds rustic, but in Lu Juyuan's eyes, isn't this a sign of excitement when he hears that he has a name? Lu Juyuan said happily when he thought of this. "Xiao Huang, it seems that you like this name very much. If that's the case, you will be called Xiao Huang from now on, Xiao Huang." As the name was decided, a humanized expression of hopelessness appeared on Xiao Huang's face. No, this name must be changed when he breaks through to the foundation building stage. As the surrounding contestants entered the stage one after another, Lu Juyuan soon arrived. "Xiao Huang, it's time for you to show off your power. Win 10 games in a row and win back tens of millions of spiritual stones." Lu Juyuan encouraged him, and then took Xiao Huang to the number 9 beast fighting platform. "Grandma, I'm so angry. I lost all my 10,000 spirit stones here. I'm going to kneel on the washboard when I get back. Your 10,000 is nothing, my 100,000 spiritual stones are gone." "What kind of spiritual stone are you?" "I'm low grade." "I'm middle grade." In the auditorium, looking at the corpse of a red-blooded wolf lying upside down on Coliseum number 9, the audience who had decided that the red-blooded wolf would win cried out sadly. Gambling is originally about thinking about heaven and hell. Losing is normal. The opponent of the red-blooded wolf was a blue sky python. Seeing his opponent fall, the owner of the blue sky python, a middle-aged man with green hair, gave an order, and the blue sky python immediately climbed back on him. Soon the arena was cleared. Everyone, the next battle will be between the soft-bone rabbit and the little native dog. Let's wait and see what kind of fireworks they can create. After seeing the opponent information on the list, the referee on the Coliseum said with a strange expression, because in their test, Xiao Huang was indeed just a simple little local dog. After hearing the referee's words, the audience in the auditorium started to complain crazily. Don't engage in such a low-level battle. It's a waste of time. This battle actually happened. I thought it was a gimmick when I saw it. Forget it, what's the point of fighting like this? Moreover, the odds are pitifully low. The cultivation levels present have at least reached the foundation building stage, so let's go to the next match. Facing the complaints from the audience, the referee could only smile bitterly, but he was just a referee, so how could he cancel the game? Xiao Qing, you did a great job. I'll give you something delicious to eat when you get back. On the way back to the preparation area, the middle-aged man from before touched his blue sky python and said, while the blue sky python rubbed against the middle-aged man's body to express his favor. At this moment, the middle-aged man seemed to have seen something and was a little surprised. In front of him, he saw Lu Juyuan passing by with a little native dog in his arms. Can all the little local dogs go up and compete? It's really a great thousand world, full of wonders. The middle-aged man shook his head and didn't pay much attention, but a nascent soul stage aura erupted from his body. The blue sky python was a monster beast at the peak of foundation establishment. Lu Juyuan didn't pay much attention to the previous middle-aged man. After all, he didn't know him. Soon, a glimmer of light appeared in front of Lu Juyuan. Beast fighting stage number 9 has arrived. Let us welcome Silky Bones Rabbit. The referee stretched his hand in one direction and saw a swift shadow rushing out from the entrance of the passage. Although it was small, it was extremely fast and appeared in the center of the ring in the blink of an eye. And behind the soft bone rabbit is its owner, a young man wearing blue clothes. Come on Xiao Wu, you will definitely defeat your opponent. The young man encouraged the soft bone rabbit, and the soft bone rabbit nodded seriously. The referee on the other side looked a little weird when he saw this scene. Even though soft bone rabbit is involved, is it possible that he can still win? But with his professional ethics, he would never laugh unless he couldn't help it. And who is the opponent of the soft bone rabbit? Let us welcome you, the little country dog. After saying this, the referee stretched his hand in another direction again, and saw a figure slowly walking out of the passage. His limp body even made people suspect that he might not have taken off his breasts yet. Lu Juyuan, on the other hand, followed the little native dog leisurely, as if the outcome was already doomed. HMPH, he's just a little country dog, how can he be compared to my Xiao Wu? Xiao Wu, please teach him a lesson later. The young man snorted coldly and said, his name is Tang San, and he is the young sect leader of the Tang clan, a seventh-rate power. This time when he came out for training, he happened to meet this soft bone rabbit. Feeling that this soft bone rabbit was destined to him, he immediately brought the soft bone rabbit to the Tianyang Coliseum, intending to give the soft bone rabbit a little more combat experience, and he also kindly gave the soft bone rabbit a little dance. Name. A nice name can help cultivate a relationship with your pet and increase their tacit understanding. Lu Juyuan's brows furrowed involuntarily when he saw the strange combination on the other side. This feeling of familiarity, it's so strange, but it's not the time to think about it now. They saw the referee coming in front of them. Contestants on both sides, please take your seats. Boy, I didn't expect that you would dare to bring a little native dog here. Are you looking for death? Before starting, Tang San looked at Lu Juyuan in front of him, who was much more handsome than him. He didn't know why an unknown anger suddenly rose in his heart, and he snorted coldly. Looking for death? I don't think so, but I heard that the soft bone rabbit's meat is delicious and is perfect for making spicy rabbit heads. I haven't eaten it yet, so after the soft bone rabbit is killed, can you sell it to me? Quote. Don't worry, the price is absolutely fair. Lu Juyuan said seriously. Although the final outcome has not been determined yet, isn't it already obvious? And Lu Juyuan didn't believe that Xiao Huang would lose to a faster rabbit. You're looking for death. I haven't eaten dog meat in a pot yet. You can sell it to me later. The price must be very fair. Tang San said angrily, and at this time the referee came to the middle of the two people. Please get your monsters on both sides in position. Following the referee's order, Xiao Huang and Xiao Wu immediately stood on opposite sides. Let's start, hurry up, I bought the next one. Grinning, referee, do you want to be beaten? Start quickly. The gamblers in the audience kept shouting, and the referee no longer hesitated and gave the order. Game start. Following the referee's order, Tang San, who was behind Rogu Rabbit, spoke first. Xiao Wu, use tornado tactics. After several days of training between Tang San and Xiao Wu, there was already a certain bond between the two. Following Tang San's command, the soft bone rabbit immediately kicked its legs vigorously, and then flew out at the speed of an arrow. The muscles on its thighs were clearly visible at the moment of running, and it must have looked delicious. The so-called tornado tactic is for the soft bone rabbit to run in circles around the enemy at a very fast speed, making the enemy faint, and then kicking the enemy in the head to deliver a fatal blow. Although the skeleton rabbit is very low in the ranking of monsters, being kicked will definitely not hurt, especially the head. If it is stronger, it may really kill the enemy. It's just a pity that Xiao Wu met Xiao Huang, who had the blood of white tiger. Facing Xiao Wu running quickly beside him, Xiao Huang stood there calmly and was not frightened by it. But in Tang San's eyes, Xiao Huang was so frightened by Xiao Wu's movements that he didn't know what to do, so he encouraged him. Come on Xiao Wu, the little fool on the other side is about to be stunned by you. After hearing this, Xiao Wu's speed increased a lot again, and Tang San started to become arrogant in front of Lu Juyuan. Boy, now you can see clearly the difference between us. Not just any trash can make it to the Coliseum, especially a little fool like this. What made Tang San a little surprised was that Xiao Huang was not shocked, but maybe he was frightened. What was going on with Lu Juyuan, the master, and why he was still indifferent? Oh, are you sure? Xiao Huang, you can see for yourself. Lu Juyuan just shook his head, then looked at Xiao Huang, who was in the middle of the running rabbit, and said softly. Boy, stop struggling pointlessly. Your little fool has been frightened out of his wits. Tang San said with a cold snort, but Xiao Huang had not made any move yet. At this moment, Xiao Wu finally started to move. Xiao Wu's body suddenly stopped, and then she rushed towards Xiao Huang, then jumped up and kicked Xiao Huang on the head with all her strength. At this time, Xiao Huang finally started to take action. Xiao Huang opened his mouth and then started howling. Ooh, the milky sound made people feel even a little cute, but Tang San said disdainfully. Why, if you want to subdue my Xiao Wu with just a few screams, that's absolutely impossible. Tang San hadn't even finished speaking when he saw Xiao Wu, who had delivered a fatal blow in the air, suddenly seemed to be disturbed by something, and was so frightened that he huddled up on the ground and started shivering. Xiao Wu, what are you doing? This is just a little local dog, what are you afraid of? Tang San yelled, and Xiao Wu, who was on the ground, had already forgotten about the battle, and was still lying on the ground trembling, humble, weak, and pitiful. At this time, Xiao Huang also turned around, looked at Xiao Wu not far away, and then walked towards Xiao Wu with small steps. This scene also attracted the attention of the gamblers in the audience. This seems a little weird. Could it be that some kind of divine soul is unable to attack? You are stupid. Where did the divine soul attack come from during the qi refining period? Is it possible that this little country dog is not as simple as he seems? Although the audience felt a little strange, they didn't care too much. After all, Xiao Huang was only in the early stages of qi training. Anyone present could easily kill Xiao Huang in an instant, so naturally they wouldn't care too much. As Xiao Huang got closer, Xiao Wu still lay there curled up and trembling, as if she had been frightened by something. Xiao Wu, wait for me. Tang San finally couldn't hold himself back at this time. He absolutely couldn't sit back and watch Xiao Wu die. He had already forgotten about the monster master not to intervene in the battle, and attacked Xiao Huang. He absolutely cannot let a little fool kill his Xiao Wu, otherwise he will lose the face of his young master of the Tang clan. Looking for death. When the referee saw Tang San taking action, he felt happy. He, the referee, was finally going to take action. Although he was just a referee, how could he control the situation without any cultivation? A rush of peak gold core cultivation erupted from the referee's body, directly suppressing Tang San to the ground. How could I forget this? When being suppressed by the referee, Tang San finally realized that this was the Tianyang Coliseum and he had no choice but to make mistakes. Not to mention himself, even the Tang sect behind him was vulnerable in front of the Tianyang Coliseum. Thinking of this, Tang San quickly begged for mercy. "Senior, please be merciful. I was just so angry that I lost my head for a moment. I ask you, Senior, to stop the pressure. HMPH, it's your first offense. If you do it again, go to hell." The referee snorted coldly and then put away the pressure. Tang San also quickly climbed up from the ground, his body full of embarrassment. The moment he got up, a trace of hatred flashed in his eyes. Although he was subdued on the surface, he was absolutely dissatisfied on the inside. In his eyes, the referee already has a way to kill him. Now he is at the peak of foundation building. When he becomes stronger, he will make the referee pay a serious price. The most important thing at the moment was Xiao Wu's matter. Thinking of this, Tang San quickly raised his head and looked up, only to see Xiao Huang already in front of Xiao Wu. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.